Hi, how are we this evening? This is not the video we're watching today. I was doing research on the next champions meet. This is the video we're watching today. Hi. Hello, everyone. As John, Barks, Vanda, hi. Otto's here too. Oh my gosh. I'm actually surprised everyone's here because I'm finally reacting and learning Warhammer. Oh God, do I need to take notes? Is there a pop quiz? I hope there isn't. By the way, so it's every single Warhammer 40K faction re-explained part 1, which I believe is the more up-to-date one. What I wasn't prepared for is the 1 hour 56-minute runtime and the fact that there's a 1 hour 32-minute part 2. So, you got bronze on Libra. Nice. I very unexpectedly won my finals race. Too much to worry about writing things down. Yeah, I have a feeling the info is going to be going too fast for me to take notes effectively. So, yeah. We've got what, like, so I was a little congested today. I did pass on. It also might be my mic placement. Oh, here, really? Do I sound stuffy still? I have been having some congestion the past couple of days, so I have been a little congested. This is substitute deeper than usual. Oh no. Oh, maybe I'm more congested than I thought I was. Yeah, I did have some sniffles earlier, but I thought I was feeling all right otherwise. Huh. Oh, hey, yeah. One time I got really sick and my voice was so raspy I sounded like Dr. Girlfriend from Venture Brothers. It was a wild week. I don't know why my voice was like that. Hey, Zam. Good to see you on YouTube. It was wild because I sounded like a chain smoker all of a sudden. I don't know why that's how I sounded when I got sick that one time. It's never happened again since. Anyways, my Uncle Paulie over in Jersey, he used to work in the mines. What mines in Jersey? I don't know. Pennsylvania steel mills. Where am I going with this bit? I don't know where I'm going with this bit. that is weird. Okay, to be fair, I was very intentionally affecting a New York accent for that. I was doing a bit. I don't know if I actually have a New York accent. I don't know if I spent long enough in New York to pick up an accent, to be honest. Because it was one thing when I was around it and I would hear it just walking down the street. Yeah. 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 All right. So I am. But yes, thank you for the concern. I was congested earlier, but I'm feeling okay. Mama Mari got me pho today, so we're feeling much better after pho. We were feeling a little cruddy earlier this week, but definitely feeling better for the most part. So I am not ready to hit play, but I'm going to hit play. So I have to hit play eventually. And this video is 2 hours. And I don't know if I'm going to make it through this whole video. We might have to do a part 2 on this. Why is there no sound? Why is there no sound? What? Huh? There was sound earlier. Why is there no sound now? Why do I not have sound? Uh-oh. Hold up. Are my headphones being goobers again? Hang on. Okay, so the problem, if you turn the volume up 300%, heard it, but it was very quiet. Okay, to be fair, I did not play it long enough for you. Yeah, no, the problem was I had zero sound. All right, let's try this again.
Our galaxy was, for a long time, fairly empty and quiet. The first known species to appear during this time are known only as the old ones.
Were you guys able to hear any of that? Boost it more for the stream. Okay. It is not anywhere near my headphones, actually. That's the weird part. Okay, let's try this.
In the kind brightness of the far past, there was no war. Our galaxy was, for a long time,
that should be better.
Empty and quiet. The first known species to appear during this time are known only as the Old Ones.
Old Ones, okay.
That traveled across the galaxy with ease and seeded life through the stars.
Okay.
Shortly thereafter, a new species began to arise. The Necron-tier, evolving under the harshness of a devastatingly powerful star.
Okay, I have to pause there because here's the thing. Up it some more. Okay. Like you say magic space toads. Genuinely, that is a thing in Homestuck. There is. Let me turn it up a smidge more. Genuinely, there is a magic space frog in Homestuck. You have no idea how much it throws me off that that is a thing you keep saying.
Lived and irradiated Necron-tier try to find the secret to eternal life.
Okay.
To be freed from their terrible existence. As they expand through the stars, they find the Old Ones and they plead to them to share the secrets of the universe and grant them purchase from their short and painful existence.
Oh.
The Old Ones respond with a lol and a lamau, and with their immense power, they force them back to their homeworld. The Necron-tier, filled with rage and hatred, make it their duty to get revenge on the Old Ones. A revenge that would come swiftly as a chance encounter with other gods gave them a solution. These other gods were known as the Catan, a race of highly powerful
settlers of Catan?
Consuming entities. Do not fear, young mortals, for we, the Catan, will provide you with the immortality you seek.
It's about
Come now.
the cones.
Won't you shake a poor sinner's hand?
No.
Quoted from Mephetron, the Deceiver. The Necron-tier accepted the Catan's offer of immortality, but believe it or not, this turned out to be a ruse. A trick. The Catan crafted gigantic furnaces and began the process of biotransference.
What?
The Necron-tier willingly walked line by line into the furnace engines made by gods who devour stars and had their souls consumed instead. The short-lived, irradiated, and cancer-inflicted race of the Necron-tier ceased to be, and the immortal, soulless Necrons remained. Now backed by the immense power of the Catan, the Necrons rally against the Old Ones, and the bitter conflict in the stars at this time is known as the War in Heaven.
What?
Despite creating various races and entities to aid them in this battle, the Old Ones are overwhelmed and eradicated down to the last, due to the sheer power of the Catan off the souls of the Necron-tier, and with an army of unthinkable robotic slaves at their behest. However, the Catan,
so the Necron-tier lost their free will?
And when there was no foe worth killing, they turn on each other. The Necrons then put their sights towards the Catan and lay waste to them, securing their freedom. The once subservient Necrons now control their former masters. Worn out and weakened by these wars, the Necrons, under their leader Zarek, the Silent King, lie dormant, with a plan to eventually
sounds like a verbose fella. Hello.
claim control over the galaxy.
Okay.
Over millions of years,
Oh, okay.
empires
Okay.
rise and they fall.
We've jumped forward
The
a few
species
years.
created by the old ones have footholds over the galaxy, but on a pale blue dot.
Pale blue
In
dot?
the thick of all
Okay.
this conflict,
Earth?
humanity
Aarth?
begins to evolve. And for the most part, the basic path of humanity's evolution remains the same as it is now for almost 15,000
Okay.
years. Right now, in the 21st century, this
Horse girls.
is canon. You, right now, Twitch streamer reacting to this video.
Oh my God.
You existed at a point in the Warhammer universe.
I'm
For a
canon to
time,
Warhammer?
Humanity's ambition
We're
and the power of
You
their
guys are
technology
canon to
becomes
Warhammer? We're all
unmatched,
canon
and
to
the golden
Warhammer.
age of expansion begins.
Oh.
Humanity starts to branch out through the stars with powerful tools used for agriculture, mining, and expansion. Some branches of humanity will
Grok.
eventually settle far away from Earth itself, and around this time, the psychic ability of humans are greatly expanded.
New
and what
types.
we begin to know as psychers appear. But
Oh.
despite all the progress, things would begin to collapse. The machines created to aid humanity would turn on them in M23, an event known as the cybernetic revolt.
Oh.
And trade would begin to collapse due to the immaterial warp, aka actual hell, beginning to cause ruptures in space and time.
Oh.
These warp stones would separate humanity, and this would be what is known as the Age of Strife. The warp, a sea of souls, storing all thought, emotion, and the
Ew.
souls of those who have passed on begin fluctuating into something terrible, as far on the horizon, something horrendous was brewing. You see, the
Brewing.
warp isn't just a random assortment of chaotic energy. It is fairly well organized, thanks to those living in the galaxy. The
Oh.
warp itself acts as an afterlife of sorts, and the actions of the innumerable amount of creatures who live in the galaxy have manifested a pantheon of organized entities known as the forces of chaos. At their helm are three major
Okay.
entities: Korn, Nurgle, and Zeech.
I'm
However,
sorry.
the
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Corn? Like the vegetable? And Zeech? Can I get spelling? Can I get a spell check on those names, please? Corn. Okay, so it does in fact. Nurgle is spelled in a much less dignified way than I thought it was. I'm gonna be honest. Nurgle sounds respectable, and then you see how it's spelled, and it's spelled like it's a Muppet. Gonna be honest, not a dignified spelling. Zeech sounds Lovecraftian, very cool. Corn, gonna be honest, my guy, probably should have checked that you're not a mundane earth vegetable. Okay. It's really jarring looking at that name of Nurgle, seeing the Muppet vibes, and then seeing the illustration behind him, and knowing that that thing is called Nurgle.
one, Slaanesh, was about to
Slaanesh.
be born. The ancient Eldar
Oh, this
were
is
one
colorful.
of the first species created by the Old Ones, and due to their
Oh.
extreme and
Is that not Kafka from Final Fantasy VI? Is that not American Kafka? Also, damn. Them cheeks be clapping. This is a very, yeah. Eldar. Yeah. Very colorful. Very playing cards.
unbridled excess, the birthing of Slaanesh tore a hole in the
Slaanesh.
galaxy and forever split the Eldar into those of the craft world, who sought to bring their species back together,
Oh.
and those of the Drukhari, who wished to continue
Okay,
what caused
so
the
we
birth of
simplified the
Slaanesh in
color
first
palette.
place. The birthing of this fourth chaos god settled the warp storm.
Okay, but the color palette did settle
the age
down.
of strife, but humanity was still fractured.
Right.
So one man revealed himself and
God's favorite is
spearheaded
quarterback.
an immense attempt to reunite all the fractured pieces of humanity. That man was the Emperor of Mankind.
Right.
After reclaiming the nearly destroyed Earth, the Emperor embarked
That's a
on
pretty
the
sick art, I'm gonna be
unification wars
honest.
to unite humanity under the banner of the Imperium of Man. However,
Very
due to
Roman.
the very long and devastating impact of the Age of Strife, humanity as we know it is not the same. To reconquer Earth, the Emperor would need more than mere men. Great beings, known as the Thunder Warriors, were recruited by the Emperor to reclaim the Earth with ease. But these warriors are a blunt tool and had, overstayed their welcome. He would need something better. And that solution would be known as the Space Marines. Superhuman soldiers that will have the skill and cunning exponentially greater than the mortal man. These new warriors would be commanded by an elite group of his very own sons known as the Primarchs.
The varsity
Unfortunately,
team.
though, Daddy didn't charge the baby monitor, and his 18 sons would be stolen by the forces of chaos and scattered across the galaxy. This would begin
a lot of sons.
the Great Crusade, a monumental task to take back the stars in the name of humanity and reclaim the lost Primarch sons.
Okay.
However,
Okay, hang on. I think Scrimblow wants to learn about Warhammer factions. She wants to come up into my lap. Hold up. Scrimblow's coming. Scrimblow's joining us to learn about Warhammer, apparently. Hello, Scrimblow. Are you here to learn about Warhammer factions? Are you sure? Don't give Scrimblow the tism. Are you a sleepy little Scrimblow? Is that what's going on? Are you sniffing the mic? Are you trying to say hello? You want to say hello? She's just a baby. She is. All right. Settle in, Scrimblow. It's going to be a long ride. Wait, we're still in the intro?
Industry to make this happen. Looking to the distant cousins of Mars, the Emperor signed a treaty with the technologically irradiated hellscape of the Red Planet and allowed the cult of the machine god, the Mechanicum, to supply his crusade. While Space Marines were the tip of the
the
spear,
Mechanicum! They have stages in Power Wash Simulator.
The Imperial Army and Navy, the Astra Militarum, and their seemingly endless numbers make up the bulk of the fighting force for humanity, supplied by the intelligence and prowess of various agents of the Imperium, such as rogue traders and assassins. Due to the lack of connectivity between the worlds, what a society had become over thousands of years became mysterious and varied. Tools once used for harvesting and agriculture now are being used as machines of war in the form of imperial knights. Some of these fractures of humanity would even be changed further and become unrecognizable to the average human, with differences in size, skin color, appendages. Sometimes some
cat
go
ears.
so far to become their own.
There's cat girls in Warhammer?
Like the miners of the Galactic Core and their immense supercomputers, forming the Leagues of Votan. After an incredible amount of effort and books, the lost sons of the Emperor would be reunited, and the Imperium of Man would be firmly established. This, however, would not last. Be it intentional or accidental, the Emperor would not reveal to his sons the true nature of the galaxy and the terrors of the warp. And this oversight would result in one of the most impactful wars in humanity's history. The favorite son of the Emperor, Horus, would fall to the powers of chaos and turn on his father. This betrayal, this backstabbing, this heresy, this Horus heresy.
He's proud of that one.
In a split in the Imperium with devastating consequences. Half of the Emperor's loyal sons would
that's
fall
metal
to
as
chaos
fuck.
and become the Chaos Space Marines, along with the forces of the Dark Mechanicum and the Chaos Knights. The conflict would result in the absolute obliteration of Horus and
that
the
is
physical
80s as
death of
shit.
the Emperor himself. The near-dead body of the Emperor will be placed on the Golden Throne to serve as a beacon of humanity.
Oh my God, he is not looking so good.
To travel the stars, protected by his most loyal, the Adeptus Custodes. The Imperium would be
the Praetorian Guard.
Age of rebirth, and Terra would find itself under siege by one of the most formidable species in the galaxy, the Orcs. As time went on and memories of the Emperor's vision began to fade, the Emperor would become less of a head of state and more of a religious figure. And the
Oh.
Imperium would change to reflect this. The leadership on a planet would be at the behest of the High Lords of Terra, and their actions would be courtesy of the incomparable power and authority of the Inquisition. The zealots of the Imperium would intensify and create a brand new era known as the Age of Apostasy. And this ecclesiarchal command of the Imperium would
So we
enter
got
with one of the
religious.
strongest fighting forces of Terra, the Adepta Sororitas. Over time, this age would come to pass, and we would approach the 40th millennium of Warhammer
40th
40,000.
millennium?
Which, you guessed it, would come with its own form of problems. A primitive species once found during a recon mission would be able to evolve in relative secrecy for 6,000 years, becoming a highly advanced coalition of aliens.
This is a very
known
expanded
as the
timeline.
Tau Empire. And if the threats of the galaxy weren't bad enough, there are threats from outside the galaxy.
Okay.
As a monster has begun to wrap its tendrils around the Milky Way.
Oh.
The Tyranids, monsters that serve a psychic hive mind and present tactics previously unseen in the Milky Way. Be it a direct assault with their monstrous bug-like presence, or through the more covert gene stealer cults. The presence of yet another threat in the galaxy is proving to be overwhelming.
I'm starting to
Imperium.
think.
In the 41st millennium, there is no peace
No
among the
peace.
stars.
Okay.
At any point, your life can and will be threatened by the Xenos races uncountable, or by the arch enemy of
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, seeing this and like the whole thing with the Emperor basically being connected to life support reminds me of something that happened in Xenogears too. Seeing this and knowing that Warhammer now knowing that Warhammer started back in the 80s, it's kind of like when you know D&D started and seeing how much influence D&D had on early like RPGs and JRPGs, like the first Final Fantasy is very much like you can see like the D&D inspiration in it. And you know, seeing some of this stuff is kind of like, oh, like looking at the illustrations, it's like that looks like the Borg from Star Trek, and it's like, damn, there's been a lot more Warhammer references in pop culture than I've realized. Warhammer Fantasy came out first, then 40K, and both came out in the early to mid 80s. Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff where like I'm like seeing it and it's just kind of like, oh wow. This is like in stuff I have played and read.
chaos within, or by the decroded terror that is the Imperium itself. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. Forget
America.
the power of technology and science, or the safety of promise and understanding. For in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
That was just the intro. I think I took away the wrong thing from the intro.
A fantastic job once again, Mr. Kurz, the Night Haunter himself. Oh, didn't you love that, my faithful audience? Once again, we have another criminal over the course of 6 hours break every single bone
what I
in
took
his
away from the
body.
intro
And
is
with
that
once again, our glorious leader has brought the crime rate
certain
to
people in
0%.
modern day
Always
America
brought
would
to you
love the
here
direction
on
that
the Stumped
humanity
News.
takes in
I'm
Warhammer.
your host, Bricky.
Hi,
Thank you
Bricky.
once again for joining us. Our top stories for tonight. The weather forecast appears to be rainy with extra dark, so make sure you pack those extra batteries
Yeah.
for your lamp packs. And of
I
course,
forgot this was a
let's not
faction
forget
video.
the fantastic gang violence problem we're currently having. Oh, I'm sorry. What's that? Oh, right. It's gone. It's looking to be a chilly one tonight as well, so make sure your skin capes are nice and tight.
Ooh. That is a stock ass breaking news that I catch.
No.
Oh.
Adamantium reserves have tripled?
Adamortium.
Wait, I'm sorry. Self-harm rates have gone down to 0%.
Yourself with Dwayne The Rock
The Night
Johnson.
Hunter smiled?
Oh.
No. This could only mean one thing. It is the Strawman News' great privilege to bring some color back in your life.
Oh my gosh.
With the brand new 3-part Gamer Subs drop exclusively on this here news network. That's right, your esteemed host Bricky, myself, is dropping a 3-part Gamer Subs release for pre-order.
I was wondering how this was going to tie into a faction.
Not only does
it did not quite do that.
Artwork reskin of the sweet 6-pack flavor, one of the highest selling flavors in the entirety of Gamer Subs, but it also comes with the first ever all over print Gamer Subs 32-ounce jug. And if that isn't enough,
strong woman.
If the phenomenal drink and drink holder is not enough for you,
the Bricky get paid faction
to go along with it. That's right, the Herculean look of the brand new sweet 6-pack style is here. We're still looking at muscles beyond belief.
Okay.
But this time we're talking taste, we're talking Atlas, we're talking smooth. And if that wasn't enough, I, your co-host specifically, should you pre-order all 3 of these items, will personally hand sign a note for you, thanking you for supporting this network. All of this you can receive for 10% off. If you go down in the description,
I can't drink Gamer Subs. I asked them if they have a non-caffeine starter pack, and they said no.
Code Bricky.
But I'm pretty sure there's like
bring some color back into
there's too much caffeine for me to drink the caffeinated version.
For our glorious leader, the Night Hunter. Thank you, Gamer Subs, for sponsoring the Strawman News, and let us move on to our next scheduled program.
Okay.
5 years ago, I made every Warhammer 40k faction explained. Passion
oh god, there's
for a
diagrams.
universe that I enjoyed so much. Its main purpose was to be a drawbridge, the separation between the layman who had only ever seen the big armored blue man situated immediately next to a Wetzel's Pretzels, and then the hardcore Warhammer lore nerd. That was
I'm in the first category.
And there was nothing bridging these two.
Yeah.
Since 2020, Warhammer has exploded in popularity thanks to COVID, quality game updates, and a few excellent video games, and a couple miniseries. The sheer volume of people who have told me they have purchased miniatures due to that video alone makes me feel as if Games Workshop owes me commission. However, that
they
video
probably
is
do.
incomplete. I was not a casual fan, but I was also not a hardcore lore junkie. In the 5 years since that video's release, multiple channels have sprouted up, and the drawbridge between casual to the obsessed has never been wider or easier to traverse. Even I, myself, have been a part of Adeptus Ridiculous, a podcast teaching lore in a much simpler and condensed form. Needless to say, I've learned a lot. Warhammer is so much more than just spaceman shoots big gun. It has also grown substantially from its origins, being a Warhammer fantasy.
Warhammer is still spaceman shoots big guns, right? That is still a part of Warhammer, right?
Deep characters, difficult themes,
that is still a thing.
Tear-jerking stories. It is a backdrop for 1 million stories over 1 million worlds, and I did not see its true depth in 2020. But now, I'd like to share what I've learned. We just had a brief summary of the world and each faction that takes place during it. And we did that because to truly understand each faction, we must understand what makes them the way they are. And to do so, we need to begin in chronological order, discussing their origins, their culture, their powers, and of course, what makes them oh so grimdark. So let's begin with the group that started it all and sing praise to the infinite empire.
Oh, Necrons.
As mentioned before, the Necron tier were the original form of the Necrons, an alien race far away
their
from
souls literally got
scorched
from them in a furnace. I guess for fuel.
Is like a sort of cancer, a space cancer of sorts. The Necrons are very much inspired by the ancient Egyptian aesthetic, but unlike the windswept dunes commonly associated with it, the irradiated hellscape the Necrons here endured was far from picturesque. This also translates into their hierarchy. They are a race of nobles and peasants. Most of the peasants would often live for their very short amount of time, only couple of decades, while the nobles tended to have better care and would live a little bit longer, but
Okay.
still far less than the average lifespan of a human, even today in the 21st century. The leader of the Necrons was Zarek, the Silent King. He was the one who took the deal with the Catan and the Deceiver. Of course, he wasn't aware of the fact that they were known as the Deceiver at the time, but the whole species was blinded by hate after being debased by the Old Ones on their quest to cure their illness. The sheer pain that underwent the Necron race can't be understated, as their fear was manic. The Catan are, of course, gods that eat stars, and when the leader of your species tells you to march into the gigantic green furnaces to ascend to immortality, you march. The scenes from these are long lines of both the peasantry and nobles clutching their loved ones in a frantic act to save their own lives. Many of them already inflicted in the late stages of the space cancer, some of them crawling into the biotransference furnaces, trying to outrace death itself. Without realizing death was the one who made these to begin with. What came out the other side was a soulless husk. And I say that literally. A soul is not an abstract concept like it is in our world, an immaterial version of oneself.
But what does that mean for them identity-wise?
No, in Warhammer, a soul is a real, tangible item of oneself.
Right.
And the Catan basically were just like to every single person who went in their furnace.
They were just snorting souls like cocaine. Okay.
Came out a Necron warrior, and you as an individual have ceased to be. You have no mind, you have no soul, and your body, as you know it, is made of an extremely advanced mass of reed.
So they did undergo a collective civilizational loss of identity. Okay.
You do not have a brain to think with.
Damn.
All you do now is await protocols from your overlords, which are the nobles who came out of the furnaces with their minds intact. Not their souls, mind you, because
the cocaine soul snorting
are very much intact. These nobles now have command protocols, and they are able to command all of their peasantry and do with them whatever.
So they have the admin rights.
The SilentKing is the most advanced.
They're the pseudo users on the new
perfect metallic version of himself with incredible
Linux
power and
BIOS everyone's running.
His strength allowed him to lead the undead and the unthinking armies of the Necrons to battle against the Catan when they were at their weakest due to their
pseudo march on the enemy
and then win back their freedom. But gods cannot die. So in reality, what occurred is the Catan were shattered into thousands of pieces, and each shard of their god was trapped in a stasis vault, and mind controlled to do the bidding of the Necrons they once enslaved. The biggest challenge they face now are actually the upstarts of the galaxy. The Eldar and the Orcs were quite prominent, and as you can imagine, a galactic war really takes its toll on the joints, or I guess the servos. It was in their best interest to wait out the galactic rise of the other races and come back at a more opportune time. So they went into stasis by these massive tomb complexes hidden beneath various worlds, biding their time until it was once again their opportunity to rule the galaxy. Zarek, the Silent King, as penance for his failure to his people, exiled himself into the darkness between stars for the next 60 million years. His perfect memory, a constant reminder of the doom he inflicted upon his people. Flash forward to the modern day, and the Necrons are reawakening. It isn't working as well as it could be. Whether the tomb world is reawakened naturally or by some imperial moron stepping on a green glowing rock, the Necrons have come back to reclaim a galaxy they...
So when he says by some imperial moron stepping on a green glowing rock, that's exactly what happened, isn't it? Someone stepped on a green glowing rock and woke up the Necron.
consider rightly theirs. But 60 million years of hypersleep have taken their toll. Many Necron dynasties awake with systems unrestored and huge swaths of their population's minds completely lost. Necron nobles wake with various mental faculties compromised, sometimes exhibiting traits similar to excessive paranoia, schizophrenia, or even dementia.
Their hardware
One
deteriorated
notable
over
Necron,
time.
Nemesaur Zandrek, believes that he is still back on his home planet fighting off separatists and interlopers. See, Oberyn, the separatists come, attempting to outflank me as they did at the 4th Battle of Vindach. How they calculate that daubing themselves green and roaring like savages will produce a different outcome, I cannot fathom. But it is of no account. Ready, my legions. Another glorious victory shall soon be ours. Other individuals, such as the esteemed Imhotep the Stormlord, seek to usurp the newly returned Silent King for rightful ruler over the Necron race, believing his time has come to an end, while scientists and archaeologists like Trazen the Infinite and Orkin the Diviner spend thousands of years bickering over artifacts and petty squabbles. Truly, the Necrons are a faction of unthinkable, unimaginable power, held back entirely by their own hubris and 60 million years of stasis. It is a species that does not know of time, only of the ravages brought by it. A pharaoh of a dynasty may just be as frightened to awake completely mad as they are to be assassinated while
they also
sleep.
kind of look like
Thousands
droids from
of
Star
years
Wars.
pass in an instant.
Roger.
There is a play, like an opera play.
What?
A retelling of the war in heaven in the Necron culture that takes
Harry Potter, that's me.
years
Potter
to
Puppet
witness.
Pals.
Because why leave? You have no need to eat or vacate your bowels.
Mm-hmm.
You are immortal, but you are soulless. Despite the Necrons' incredible technology, their mastery over time, reality itself, despite all of this, they still are missing a soul. And therein lies the biggest struggle. Most Necrons look to conquest the galaxy, kill the interlopers like the humans, Eldar, and Orcs that scrape at a fraction of their power. But the
It's
end
Kingdom
goal for
Hearts
me,
where they
including
became
Seraph
heartless
himself,
and
is to
nobodies,
return
and now they
the
want their hearts
souls
back.
to their bodies, to undo the horrible fate he cast upon them. This
Okay,
is not
it's
the interest of
Organization
all. Many
13.
simply wish to rule their dynasty with an iron fist and kill all they consider unworthy. But to many others is to undo the decision that doomed them all. Before they can do that, there is a pest that needs exterminating. That is the fundamental understanding of the Necrons.
Okay.
They are so hyper advanced that their science borders on
We're still
magic.
not done with this
They
section.
play
Oh my
with
god.
the fundamental aspects of reality and time. Their mastery of the physical galaxy is the strongest in the universe. Their weapons reduce people to the barest molecules, and they have devices capable of causing stars to supernova. Unfathomably difficult to kill, as if you do fell one of their number, the living metal reknits itself, and the reanimation protocols allow it to come back alive.
They have reanimation
Of
protocols.
teleportation, and often killing a Necron fully will just have its consciousness translocated back to their tomb world to await reassembly. Normally, they utilize large phalanxes of warriors and honorary combats, but some of them have fallen to various mind viruses. The destroyer cults are hell-bent on killing anything and everyone that lives with an overwhelming force. And then there's the flayed ones. Necrons cursed with I have no mouth.
If dead equals don't, else equals
a
kill.
panic attack virus as the last laugh of Landogo, the Flayer Catan. Slowly losing their minds, they strip apart their foes and adorn their bodies with the skin of their enemies, trying to better return to their old feelings of flesh and blood. The Necrons are a degraded version of their mighty empire.
That's one way to go about it,
Threats in the
I guess.
The only thing keeping them at bay currently is their awakening sickness and their infighting with no care to the timeline. They are coming, and slowly they plan to rid this galaxy of the vermin that inhabit it.
So they're playing the slow game.
Shackled the stars and broke mortality when the species you sprang from had barely left the slime pools it spawned in.
Damn!
Our wars burned reality, and the dominion of our kings is without limit. The ground you tread on is not yours, it is ours. The war
Okay,
in
that goes
heaven
pretty
was
hard,
a
actually.
catastrophic time for the galaxy, and as stated in the above quote, burned reality.
Yeah.
Of course, souls exist in Warhammer, and in the case of the Necron tier, they were consumed by the star gods. This begs the question, however, if you were to pass on, expire, as one might put it, where would your soul go? The answer to this is the warp. In Warhammer, a soul is real.
Right.
And so is hell. The
Right,
afterlife,
okay.
the Empyrean, the Sea of Souls, the Immaterium. All of these names refer to the dimension parallel to our own known as the warp. Now, the warp is not like our reality. It does not follow the classic normalcy of time and space. It is defined as the Sea of Souls, and it acts like this in a more literal way than you can realize. To imagine the warp is to imagine the sea itself. Hell is real, and you can surf on it. It has
what?
And can become more dangerous.
You can hang 10 on hell?
As the Immaterium is a
Hi,
reflection of
Cloudforce. We're learning about the Necrons? Or we just learned about Necrons?
All emotions, all feeling that goes with a soul is passed on into the warp. If an entire planet decides it's going to engage in a blood-fueled rampage of murder and gore, then the warp around that planet will be affected in a similar manner. It's not something you can see. It is a parallel, not perpendicular dimension. But it is changing. To expose oneself to the warp for any period of time invites certain death outside of the most iron-willed of individuals. And to stare into it will drive one mad. Much like the open seas, things dwell in the warp. Whether these beings were always there and were just emboldened by the carnage of the galaxy, we can only speculate. At a time, you could say it was more calm. But a certain faction's galactic war in heaven didn't do it any favors. Now the warp is turbulent, and its realms belong to a pantheon of gods known simply as
Oh, he base boosted himself there.
The forces of chaos are beings that serve directly under their patron.
Chaos freaks.
There are 4 current gods of chaos.
4, okay.
Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh.
Nurgle.
Each of them represent various facets of and emotions of sentient species and play a great game against one another for total control over their realms. Interestingly enough, while their disciples have physical forms we can understand, the Chaos Gods do not have a physical visual that you can perceive in reality.
That makes sense.
So while there are tons of fantastic fan art, we do not know what they truly look like. Though they are conveniently color-coded.
They're color-coded!
Blood and murder, carnage and slaughter. He is the one who is most powered by the wholesale killing of any living thing. For Khorne cares not from where the blood flows. With a sacred number of 8, he is the lord of all things involving killing.
Oh, he has a favorite number.
His champions are extremely strong.
8's a nice pick.
Monumental muscles.
Wait, he's the blood god? He's the guy that the blood is for?
Be his greater demon, the Bloodthirster, an enormous muscle-bound flying devil with an axe so large it splits tanks in a single swing. They move into battle with armor of brass adorned by the skulls of their foes and pools of freshly spilt blood. This may appear to be
the patron of doom.
Demonic, one might say.
Oh, demonic!
In the world of chaos, all emotions feed one of these gods in one way or another. If you were to define Khorne with single words, you would use blood, carnage, murder, skulls. But you'd be missing out on important ones like strength, honor, prowess, courage, and skill. Khorne is not just about the wholesale slaughter of people.
So he's the Gryffindor.
The honor and power of martial combat. The true strength there is in besting someone in physical strength and skill. Of course, a murderer would be someone who would feed Khorne, but a soldier
Vikings
would feed Khorne. A martial artist
would feed Khorne. Valhalla.
Could feed Khorne.
Yeah.
A warrior, good or bad, feeds Khorne. A diplomat does not. A premier soldier does. A GoFundMe does not. This is what leads many mortals down the path of Khorne. For he will bless those that bring him enough skulls. And in a world this destructive, there are many ways to reap a high tally. Prepare the dread claws and unchain the mad ones. Glorious battle awaits us today, for the world below has refused to surrender. Let us descend upon them with fury and rage, giving no quarter and sparing only those warriors who fight well enough to earn a place amongst us. As to the rest, their lives and possessions are ours, but their skulls are for Corn.
So Corn would be taking my
Normally,
skull,
if I ever want
because a
to
warrior
explain
I
Corn,
ain't.
I just kind of show him this clip.
I'd never stab you in the back, Shepherd. Warriors like you and me, straight to the face.
Moving on, Tzeentch is the second god, the god of trickery and mischief, the changer of ways, the great conspirator, and the architect of fate. With a sacred number of 9, Tzeentch is truly the god of change in all of its forms, but there is an obvious undercurrent of mischief and cunning. Tzeentch is such a liar that his pants have gone thermonuclear. His favorite pastime is asking questions that have no answers while simultaneously making up answers on the spot to a question he didn't ask.
Have you ever had a dream that you had
Take your time.
you could do
Use your words.
you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
He is such a conniving little bastard that every emotion of lying, of scheming, of trickery is a direct way to help feed him. An unfaithful partner, a politician, a spy. All these people feed Tzeentch in one way or another, and it doesn't matter if the intentions are good. Acceptance does not feed Tzeentch. Change does. Tzeentch doesn't care about your facts. He only wants opinions. Because he represents change, he also represents hope, though. Schemes are not always bad, and even the hope to make a better tomorrow is the change he seeks. Because he is the architect of fate and the mastery of sorcery, his presence is purely unknowable. Every depiction of a Tzeentchian demon contains more eyes than are necessary and more mouths than I know what to do with. It is a biblically accurate angel if the angel gaslit you into thinking birds are government drones.
Wait, I'm sorry. Biblically accurate angel if the angel was gaslighting. Why is that such an incredible description? Oh my god.
But are they? The creatures
Dun,
at
dun,
his
dun.
disposal adorn themselves with the knowledge of sorceries and the unknown, all to provide a mind-crushing experience. Fighting demons from outside of our reality is difficult enough, but fighting demons from unreality, purposely attempting to trick you, is a whole new thing entirely. And that is before we even get started on the gigantic bird of sorcery you're going to need to face. Do not ask which creature screams in the night. Do not question who waits for you in the shadow. It is my cry that wakes you in the night, and my body that crouches in the shadow.
So you're the...
I am Tzeentch, and you are the puppet that dances.
Can you
to my
not?
tune.
I need 8 hours of
The
sleep.
Chaos Gods is the one of acceptance of rot and pestilence, the grandfather himself, Papa Nurgle. Nurgle is the exact opposite of Tzeentch. Where Tzeentch believes in change and hope for a future, Nurgle believes in stagnation and the end of everything. At one point or another, we will all decay. We will all rot, and we will all end. And with a sacred number of 7, every single thing, pestilence, boil, and everything in between, comes under the great shadow and girth.
You know, I'm wondering,
Nurgle
is he?
himself. For Nurgle, the plight of mortals is his fear and wine. And no matter how solid life might be, everything will decay in the end. In the creation of life, there must be an end to that life. And nobody has more creations to end lives than Grandfather Nurgle himself. Every boil, every blemish, every pus-filled wound and disease, every rot and every plague is kept and concocted by Nurgle. This, humorously, keeps Nurgle as a jovial god. He is full of life and laughter.
He's so happy.
And by creating as many diseases as he possibly can, he shares that joy with mortals. His envoy is the great unclean one.
So
And look
sharing
how
is
happy
caring
he
gone
is.
wrong.
And there's a lot of him to love. A fear of death.
That is a
in general
big-ass
is
minifig.
feeding Nurgle. All disease makes
You
him
can't call that a
strong, but to
minifig, that's a
pray
maxi
for
fig.
salvation for a wounded loved one is to feed Nurgle. The timeless and inevitable fear that one day you will rot and decay is what gives
I
him
guess this
strength.
is
The
Hufflepuff.
Peloton won't feed Nurgle. Licking the doorknob on a public bathroom certainly does.
Oh.
However, should you embrace your grandfather's gifts, you may find an end to your pain. Maybe.
Maybe.
All mortal followers of the Chaos Gods found themselves there in one way or another, either through the direct worship or the slow corrupting of their souls. But
Right.
those that take Nurgle's gifts and embrace the decay of their bodies may end up being chosen among his few as a faithful servant.
Okay.
In doing so, you will be free of the pain caused by Nurgle's ailments, and you may even find yourself just as jovial and happy as he is.
Yay!
Maybe.
Maybe.
His enemies shall wither and die. His allies shall
Nurgle.
wither and die. The universe and all within it shall wither and die. And when the great corruption has settled over the land and permeated the very foundations of reality itself, then shall the Lord of all rise from the rot and ruin, spread his arms wide to reclaim all of his dutiful children. Those
Okay.
were the three major chaos gods
Okay.
for a very long time.
Very. Oh,
Emboldened
okay.
by war
But you said there
and
were
death
4.
on a galactic scale, ever present but now fact on the suffering of a
Okay.
galaxy. One race, for a while, was able to elude the pull of chaos. An advanced race of psychically attuned aliens whose master over the physical world was so strong that chaos could not glean from them the morsels of power they once had, or so they couldn't. Not for a long while.
Oh.
60 million years ago, in an attempt to combat
Those-
the Necrons and Catan, the Old Ones made a new species. One with innate power. in
Those
the
outfits
warp
are
and
some
the ability
choices.
To harness it with a mastery that was unseen by so many others. A mastery so powerful, the Necrons
Oh my
retreated
God.
to sleep in order to wait it out. It was no longer a galaxy to be ruled by them, but instead begin the age of the...
Okay, Eldar. Okay.
The Eldar are a race of pointed-eared humanoids
Hello,
that
ladies,
are all
Kafka.
psychically attuned to the warp. If we're being meta here, these are space elves, and these elves ruled the galaxy in the time the Necrons went to sleep and humanity began to rise. The Eldar's empire was galaxy-wide and lasted for longer than any other galactic power that we know of.
Okay.
Their understanding of all things was exceptional. With every single
So
one
they're
of them being
nerds.
psychers, they had the ability to master the warp and use it to their advantage. See,
Ah.
being a psyker is basically like being a wizard, or I guess in this case it's more of a sorcerer, since you are born with the gifts
Right.
as opposed to learning them.
Right.
In order to utilize your psychic abilities, however, you must then reach
Textbook
into the other
D&D
dimension,
distinction.
into the warp,
Uh-huh,
into
uh-huh.
hell for that power. So if you were to say, cast fireball, your mind will
Lightning bolt.
reach into the
Lightning
warp,
bolt.
gather the
Lightning
strength
bolt.
to rewrite reality to then cast fireball.
Ah.
You might think to yourself, doesn't that mean if you are opening up a power to the warp, you may create a lot of risk to yourself because of all the horrible things we just talked about in the warp? Yes. However, in Warhammer 40k, willpower is a real tangible
I
thing
love that
in the
this guy.
sense that
Okay,
in
hang
its
on.
own
I love that this guy's machine gun over here almost looks like a guitar, and like he's shredding a sick guitar solo. I love that for him. Just wanted to point that out real
strength
quick.
can be weaponized. Being strong of will means being strong of soul. And being strong of soul means you can resist the pull of the warp that much more. A
Dang.
more inexperienced psyker
Uh-huh.
opens up a hole into the warp that is large. And that hole widens to get more power,
Right.
allowing evil things to get in.
Mm,
A powerful psyker is able to open a very small hole, but with immense force to get the same amount of power
It's a
with
flow
less risk.
efficiency.
The Eldar are master psychers. Every single one of them can call upon the warp, and over millions of years they have perfected it so much so that they can weave structures out of it. In some species in the galaxy, they utilize the warp itself for interstellar travel. The Eldar ain't having any of that noise. How about we utilize a fancy alternative mode of travel that is substantially safer than the old ones created, called the webway? What about
The what?
dying? Miss me with that. We no longer age.
Oh.
And if we do, we can just be reborn like that. Food, water, Materials? We make things out of distilled warp essence itself.
Oh.
We sing unreality into cathedrals to dine in. What truly could the Eldari Empire possibly fear?
Okay. This is such a funny image to have paused on. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Holy crap. What a time to pause. Okay, so I have a feeling the Chaos Gods are really meant to correspond more to the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Khorne clearly corresponds to war and conquest, all that stuff. And then Nurgle corresponds to pestilence. I don't know if I would say death right away, because it's death, war, famine / pestilence, and then what's the fourth one? I should know the fourth one. 4 horsemen. I can't remember the fourth one. What's the fourth one? Famine and pestilence, I think, are kind of interchangeable nowadays. The white horse, white rider, where's the victor's crown? Plague, famine, death, and war. Okay, yeah. That's it. Plague, famine, death, and war. Famine is the one that's a little difficult to correspond to. Yeah. I thought they got combined over the years, but famine and pestilence being the same makes sense. Oh, it's because in Good Omens they said famine had to take over for pestilence or something like that. Plague, war, blank, and change. Yeah. So they definitely have more of a 4 horsemen vibe, but also because they also incorporate positive aspects. I couldn't, like, when he was describing Cord, my brain really was just like, oh, he's red and he values like bravery and courage. That's Gryffindor. And then Zeech, I'm like, I don't know if you're Ravenclaw or Slytherin, dude, because if you crave change to a sense, you have ambition, and Slytherin's all about ambition. But he's not, but he's blue, which makes him feel like Ravenclaw. And also, it's just like, but do you understand this? So very Ravenclaw. And then Nurgle. Anyone could coincide with Slaanesh because Slaanesh is called the Lord of Excess. Oh, it could. And then the Eldar, it's so funny because they're kind of giving me Tolkien vibes. 'Cause I feel like that was a term used. Yeah, it was. The Eldar was the name given to the elves by the Vala Orome when he first found them wandering the starlight of Quinnivianen. I'm not crazy. The Vanir de Noldor de Tellery. Yeah, the Vanir de Noldor later returned to Middle-earth. Okay, I'm not crazy. Yeah. So the Eldar sound like wouldn't be the first name Tolkien. Well, here's the question though. Who came first? Tolkien or Warhammer? Because I believe Tolkien might have come first. Is the thing. Like, that's the thing, though, is I think Tolkien's Legendarium easily predates Warhammer, if Warhammer came out in the 80s, because Tolkien based a lot of his, like, certain aspects of Lord of the Rings based on his experiences in World War II, which definitely puts him before the 80s by a long shot. Hi, I used to be a bit of a Tolkien nerd. I actually wrote a paper in school about Christian allegories in Lord of the Rings. But yeah, so like right now, yeah, Adwell, that's why I'm yapping right now. So right now, my thought, just from knowing what I know about Tolkien's Legendarium and the fact that they're called the Eldar and they're space elves, because there was something very similar in Tolkien's Legendarium with the elves. I'm curious to see if it plays out the way I think it's going to play out. given what I know. So this shall be interesting. Always think Tolkien's writing is later than it is. I wonder why that is. Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense how it all kind of like influenced each other, especially because like um yeah, it's like you said, like fantasy 40K influenced by D&D. D&D was naturally influenced by like Tolkien and the world building and whatnot. So it's not surprising that the thread is there. Like it actually is kind of crazy just how much stuff traces roots back to Tolkien and his writing. It's actually kind of stunning. Um, no, I'm trying to think now. Like, how do I summarize what I think is about to happen? Uh, it depends on where you come from. Like, I'm more of a sci-fi, so I'm seeing things like Dune, Terminator, and Star Trek. Yeah. Yeah, I see that. I'm definitely seeing more of the like the fantasy stuff for sure. Because I think the Eldar was definitely a term borrowed from Tolkien then. Um, and then things happened with the elves, but I haven't read Tolkien in a hot second, especially his Legendarium works that expand on the Eldar. It has been a hot second since I chose the Silmarillion, so I'm a little rusty on Eldar specifics. But all right, we should be back. I'm going to give it a few seconds and take a quick sip of water. Eldari, because Eldar wasn't copyright. See, I'm not surprised there, especially because the Tolkien estate can be pretty careful about the stuff in the Legendarium. Oh my God, I was thirstier than I thought. Holy crap. Oh my God, did I tell you guys? I went to the Jimjilbang with my mom a couple weeks ago. And for those who don't know, a Jimjilbang is a Korean day spa. So we go like every month or so. We get a scrub. You know, she likes to do it. I don't mind. She buys me lunch. Can't complain. We go grocery shopping. But the place we go to are terrible about keeping our appointments on time. So I ended up waiting nearly 2 hours for my appointment. And we were driving back and my mom had to stop somewhere to get something. And I was like, hey, can you get me some water while you're in there? Because she was like, you're dehydrated, you need to drink water. So I was like, hey, can you get me some water? She's like, I'll get you like some Gatorade or something. And I'm like, you know what? That's smarter. And so she got me a Pocari Sweat, which is basically a Asian sports drink. But because she couldn't find a normal bottle, so she came out with a 1.5 liter bottle. And I didn't drink it all right away because I was driving and it's like an hour and a half drive from where we go to back to where we live. And it's like we were probably going to run into traffic, and it's like I do not need a full bladder going into traffic. But we finally got close enough to the house and we stopped to get gas, and I'm like, okay, I know I'm dehydrated. I should drink something. So I took a couple swigs from the bottle. I drank in just a couple swigs. So I guess it was more than a couple swigs. I drank easily 3/5 of the bottle. And I was just like, oh, I was significantly more dehydrated than I thought. And then like my mom came back from pumping gas and she was just like, oh God, I'm glad I got the big bottle now. Hello, Biggie. We are learning about Warhammer. No, well, I mean, I was genuinely very dehydrated. So it wasn't surprising that it happened, but it was just kind of like, I'll just take a couple swigs. And then it was like, oh, I chugged. Let's see. Warhammer really only exists because Games Workshop were making figures for other games and had the idea that, oh, hey, we could make more money if we were our own IP. Oh, that's funny. All right, so Eldar, back to Space Elves. We're about to be backstabbed. Celia said hydrate. Yep. This image is
The
fantastic.
Eldari Empire's biggest fear was themselves.
Oh.
The society so perfect they wanted for naught. And this led them down dark and dangerous paths. When the base functions of society are no longer a problem for you, you tend to experiment. Perhaps the medium rare steak on your plate would be better if it was elf meat. I'm not saying we should make cannibalism legal, but like, what's the issue with a little taste? Sports is one thing, but how come we don't do sports to the death? I mean, I'm just saying, like, if both participants are willing and clear about it, like, what really is the problem there, you know? Art is in the eye of the viewer, and what is considered art is completely up to the concept of one's own interest. A canvas adorned with the blood of a man wronged is truly the visual poetry that our society needs. Hedonism. With a slow and consistent hedonism, the Eldar slid backwards into debauchery of the sort I cannot discuss on this YouTube video. Murder on stage, delicacies, and drugs
Demonetization
distilled from
level
one another,
debauchery.
the trade of slaves and concubines, and much worse. The Eldar physiology has their emotions heightened.
I have a jam.
So while it can provide lows of pure despair, it can also provide greater highs than you have ever known. And swinging between the two of them was the Eldar game. The Warp took notice of this heavily, and it began to react. On a galactic
The Warp
scale,
rolled
the
active
debauchery and the
perception.
hedonism of the Eldar race caused levels of warp storm so pronounced and so volatile that it cut off interstellar travel for all those who used it. Communications between planets was removed, and a nightmarish era of old night began. This continued for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. The Eldar all but removed from the problems being caused as they entered heights of more and more ecstasy. They needed more and more and more.
That's
Nothing was
crazy
ever
that their
enough.
orgies
More
were
murder,
so
more torture.
insane.
It's delicacies. It's life. This silence
It-
offends Slanesh.
Damn.
Slanesh, the prince of pleasure, she who thirsts, the god of unspeakable excess, is our fourth chaos god with the sacred number of 6 adorning their title. Slanesh is a bit of a tricky one.
I misheard
because
him
for
and thought
all
he
three
said the
chaos
number of
gods,
6
there was a
adorning their
certain
titty.
understanding of human emotions and desires, but for Slanesh, that desire is how they get their power. The words to be used would be decadence, pleasure, perfection, passion, excess, and many
wonder if
others.
these
The
guys-
pursuit of more, the want to do more, experience.
Fun fact, this looks like it was inspired by Amazons and Greek mythology because it was a common myth slash belief that Amazon warriors would basically give themselves a I don't know if there's a word for it, so I'm gonna make up a word real quick. A monobubular monomastectomy, so that titty not interfere with draw of bowstring when shoot arrow. So very interesting to see some Greek influence come here. Right, well, mastectomy, does a mastectomy specifically mean only one boob, or does it imply both boobs? Where's Syken, the doctor VTuber? I have health questions for him that he should be able to respond to without violating any ethics. Anyways, that's just a little fun fact that I saw. That I was like, oh, hey, Amazon warriors. Oh, see, I thought a mastectomy implied both. It's more about for the androgyny and giving gender traits on a single body as possible. I mean, Mari, go full. Listen, there's a lot of thought I'm trying to get out. And sometimes because I'm trying to get the thought out coherently and I want it to be understandable, my brain is simultaneously going, like, oh, I want to get out this thought, but I also want it to be understandable. So then my brain go, explain thought, but small word. And then that happens. Yeah, it's called a double mastectomy. Okay, so mastectomy then would imply just the one. Okay. Okay, so interesting. It's more about the androgyny and excess of basically having. Oh, interesting.
Experience more, become more. That's what gives Slaanesh their gifts. A lot of people believe that Slaanesh is something that originates with sex, specifically, and it makes sense why they assume that. The visuals of Slaanesh patrons are all very lithe and sexual, but they are also intentionally androgynous to appear attractive to a variety of entries. However, to think that Slaanesh specifically derives from sex would be mistaken.
Right.
While it is true that a lot of humanity's actions can relate to
Do tricks on it. Do tricks on it. I'm sorry that I
getting laid, and Slaanesh
love that
is
for
the
you,
dark prince of
Slaanesh.
desire. It's more on the lines of feeling an excess of an emotion. It is excessive touch and scent and desire, and a lot of that has to do with sex. That's why it looks like sex. But
Right.
it's more than just that.
Right.
A patron of the arts
Oh,
may
no.
feed Slaanesh. One that aspires to become the perfect chef or master of their craft, and the sheer pursuit of that alone will feed
Guys. We're in danger. Guys. Most of us have Gunpla backlogs. Slaanesh is coming for us. Pink.
Slaanesh. Whiplash is Slaanesh's
It is
absolute
very too
favorite
late for
film.
us.
Videos where people beat Elden Ring on a dance pad feed Slaanesh.
There are no two words in the English
Oh my
language
god.
more harmful than good job.
But is there a line?
Oh my god. That guy who makes crazy niche Final Fantasy 14 controllers is feeding
Sensation
Slaanesh.
is a majorly Slaanesh-coded thing. It might start off feeling good, but then you get to play around a little bit.
Unoptimized 40 gigabyte
Right?
Final Fantasy
Might not be
14
enough,
mod
so you might
beasts
want
are feeding
more.
Slaanesh.
Inflicting the pain could be your jam. Music can increase to volumes that may hurt your ears, and even then that might not be enough. More. You must have more. Many of the disciples of Slaanesh carry a demonic form in their lithe grace. The Keeper of Secrets is his chosen envoy, and their movements are a blur of dance and pain with an aura all the more fatal. They dance and sing, but there's always a form of malice behind every action they take. An alluring gaze that will pull you in right before the demonic entity can crush you in that grip. Slaanesh's palace has 6 layers surrounding it, and one of them is the excess of gluttony, where the participant finds themselves in a beautiful banquet full of the most delicious foods imaginable. Tables of delicacies and rivers of wine tempt the user to such a degree that they cannot stop stuffing their face, unaware that the
Oh
things
god,
they are eating
tags.
are very vaguely
Oh no, the
forbidden.
tag.
One does not see
Oh,
themselves
no.
drowning in the river of wine. They may soon fill
Feeder
their
is
bodies
some.
with so
Oh
much that
no.
they cease to function and fall over, becoming part of the banquet themselves.
Oh.
That is one of these 6 layers of Slaanesh's
Oh, it's like in
palace.
Spirited
This
Away when she hears
was the
parents are
ecstasy
eating
that
and
the
starting to
Eldar
become
civilization
pigs.
indulged in for millennia, and did so at a monumental scale that they created a god from it. Find pleasure in every moment. Indulge in every whim. Let lesser races feel the burden of their crude lives. We are beyond such concerns
my God.
or worries. Every power is ours to use. Every sensation ours to experience. We are truly masters of the galaxy, and all others exist only to satisfy our curiosity.
It's like the
We have
opposite of
earned
Buddhism.
our position of power. Let us forever taste the fruits of such achievement. Time itself
Oh my
is
gosh.
ours to command. We are eternal. With the birth
Okay,
of
that was
Slaanesh,
actually
the
incredible.
Eldar Empire ceased to be. A catastrophic event so horrible that the warp ripped a hole permanently in our reality. A fissure forever known as the Eye of Terror.
Oh, okay. I thought that was going to become like the Devil's Anus. But Eye of Terror works too.
Are a currency to be now collected by she who thirsts. Trillions of Eldar died in an instant.
Could be both,
Slaanesh
okay.
gorging on their souls to satisfy his palate.
Oh.
99.9% of their entire species died, and the rest are doomed to a fate worse than death.
Oh.
For Slaanesh now stakes a claim on each and every Eldar soul. From the moment they pass on, an eternity of torment awaits them. The remaining Eldar devote their entire lives to stopping this eventuality.
Okay.
Their dying race so devoted to saving themselves from the Dark Prince, and in doing so, have found very creative ways.
Okay.
In the modern world of Warhammer, the craft world Eldar are the main force of Eldar in the galaxy and represent the elf style that many think of when you think elves in space. Fantasy elves in space, not those elves. We'll get to them.
Oh, we have those
Craft world is
too.
a monumentally large starship, the size of a continent, that acts as a
Fireside
form of
Crucible is a pretty
flotilla.
metal name,
During the
actually.
highest reaches of hedonism, many Eldar saw the demonic writing on the wall and began to try and seek asylum from their own debauchery.
Wait,
Those
Eldar
left on monumental craft worlds into the far reaches of the galaxy and saved themselves from Slaanesh's awakening. The main thing the craft world Eldar seek is to temper their minds and bodies in a way that will never allow them to slide back into their old ways. The representation they carry is
Eridar,
that
they're a
of
race
more
in World of
feudal
Warcraft
Japanese
too.
motif. Eldar follow paths as they age, the path of the warrior, the seer, the poet, the diplomat, the bone singer, and so on.
Bone
These
singer.
paths are a strict code of conduct to hone the heightened Eldar psychology down a school of thought and action. And if it sounds a hell of a lot like Bushido, well, you're damn right. There's a medal and a soul stone. Don't lose it or an eternity of torment awaits you. Going through these paths will allow you to take up not just a role in Eldar society, but keep your mind clear from the past worries that plagued them. Every Eldar is said to be a psyker. However, very few of them actually utilize their psychic powers for fear of tempting she who thirsts. A large amount of emphasis is also put on ancestors of the Eldar and learning from them the farther you go down a path. This can sometimes be seen by the large variety of jewels adoring the armor of Eldar. Those are called soul stones, the biggest middle finger to Slaanesh they can think of. So when Eldar dies, these stones act as a backup, and instead of their souls going to Slaanesh, they are then trapped and stored in this little stone. So when the Eldar say they commune with their ancestors, they mean so
Quite literally.
very literally, as the spirit and soul of
Jinx.
generations before them are
Jinx,
stored
Bricky.
here. Often larger structures may contain vast amounts of soul stones, such as the Infinity Circuit in the craft world itself, allowing the souls of the dead to help power their enormous starship. The young do not desire the discipline of the path, but rather their curiosity drives them to try every fruit from the tree. Thus, it is that so many take the path of wandering or the path of damnation in their first years of adulthood. And so, the great tragedy of our kind is played out again and again as the number of our people shrink from generation to generation.
Damn.
These paths, when completed, allow an Eldar to move to the next one, then the next one. However, since this is the grim darkness of the world, many of these paths rely on combat. The Eldar actually had gods at one point. Cain, Val, Isha, Azaryan, and so on.
Ajar?
These gods are aspects of the Eldar pantheon, and while many were killed in Slaanesh's creation, their teachings live on. For some, the strongest devotion to the Eldar gods is to join the Aspect Warriors and embody the wrath of Cain, their god.
Nurgle has a jar.
The guardians of the Eldar craft worlds are more akin to a trained militia. The Aspect Warriors embody a particular variant of the path.
Okay.
Each are led by a Phoenix Lord, a name passed
Phoenix
down
Lord.
generations and embodying the souls of prior Phoenix Lords with each new one.
Damn.
The Howling Banshees led by Jane Czar, Fugin and his Fire Dragons, Baharoth and his Swooping Hawks, or Malgan Ra and his Dark Reapers. Each
Oh my God.
Aspect shrine carries with it the Eldar way of war. fast, hard-hitting, and incredibly tricksy, for they do not have the numbers to fight in any other way. The craftful Eldar show how mangled an empire can be by their own actions. They once ruled the galaxy in an honest, non-hyperbolic way, but in the end, they were bested by themselves, and their most prominent remnants are forced to drift aimlessly through the galaxy, trying to save their species from extinction and resist the temptations of she who thirsts. But for some, the party, it's just beginning.
Hey! Caramel dancing?
Deep within the webway is the city of Kamara. This
Kamara
dark city once existed as a port in the webway that allowed for ease of transport for the Eldar.
I do
between
wonder
its
how much of
various
this was
domains. The
incorporated
significance of the city
into
meant that it needed to be a bit more of a neutral territory
or
outside the
inspired World of
jurisdiction
Warcraft to an
general Eldar
extent.
law, and therefore,
Because
it was
this
allowed
kind
to
of reminds me
self-govern.
of the
This did
Draenei.
not go well. The
Oh.
Dark City became the hideaway for all manner of sin. The
Oh,
Eldar
space
race
drow.
slipped into debauchery on a galactic scale that it birthed a god, and this was the city you went to when that wasn't enough for you. The
Oh.
convenience of being so deep within the webway was that it exists as a blind spot to the horrors of the warp. So while the rest of the Eldar fled the downfall of their species, Kamara kept partying. When Slanesh was birthed, they were saved the worst of it, thanks to them being nice and neatly tucked away inside the webway. But only somewhat. The Dark Prince did not have a grip around their soul, but the tiniest pinky finger, and they were still pulling.
tiniest
But due to
pinky
their
finger
excess
up the
hedonism,
butt.
they found a solution to this problem. If they tormented others,
Uh-huh.
they could temporarily rejuvenate their souls and continue to cheat their inevitable death by placating the Prince of Pleasure. And if they kept this up on the regular, they could effectively become immortal. Thus, the Drukhari were born. Unlike the more stoic elves you see in works of fiction, the Drukhari themselves exist as a sort of analog of the more grim and fiendish elves you find in Norse.
Blizzard tried very hard to make a Warhammer game, but they couldn't secure the rights.
Are soul vampires, but the
Soul
more basic
vampire.
means to feed are hardly enough to keep them going. This desire to feed is known as the thirst, and to quench it effectively, they have mastered the art of biotechnology and dark sciences to
Okay.
really juice themselves up on the crispy
Kind of
soul
like blood
spread in the
elves and their
vending
mana
machine called
addiction.
the galaxy.
And the night
majority of
elves.
Drukhari act as pirates
And the night
raiders
elves.
and slavers. They go into our
And
physical
greed with
reality
magic.
and drag people back
Oh.
to Kamara to commit atrocities that
Okay.
go beyond any
We're drawing
imaginative
parallels.
torture a human can think of.
Damn.
The Drukhari are organized in various groups throughout the Dark City to accomplish this in a more organized and extremely brutal way. The Cabals act as the main warriors of the city, led by their archons. Witches and succubi act as entertainment for Kamara in gladiatorial arenas. And the
Ooh.
flesh-crafting homunculus keep the Drukhari alive and discover
That's an insane set of nipple
ever-increasingly
piercings.
more painful ways to torment their ever-increasingly large supply of slaves they are brought. The Dark Eldar
Oh,
are seen
okay,
the
they're
inhabitants
Hellraiser.
of
They're the
galaxy
Hellraiser
as little
faction.
boys and cattle, livestock that can be brought to bay or slaughtered at any time. Their fodder, however, is not meat and muscle, but the anguish and despair of the weak. The Dark Eldar do indeed drink blood, but also tears, and most sustaining of all, the raw essence of pain they wring out of their captives. The truth of the matter is that Drukhari sustain themselves on the suffering.
It is a
of others,
Drukhari.
not just
Okay,
morally,
got
but
it.
physically. Kamara is a city rife with backstabbing schemes and murder. It is the worst back alleys of the worst ghettos at the best of times. Nothing is more horrifying to a Drukhari than death, for death will see them in the talons of Slanesh for an eternity of torment.
Right.
So they do everything they can to stop this. The homunculi covens regrow dead members from pieces of flesh as bargaining chips. The succubi create grisly gladiatorial spectacles that literally rejuvenate the audience members as captives are murdered for sport. To be captured by the Drukhari is one of, if not the worst fate imaginable in the world of Warhammer 40k. In a universe built On war crimes, they are the most debased war
Damn.
crimers of all
That is a
time.
statement.
To be tortured and sacrificed in the gladiatorial arenas is a blessing, for you have escaped the fate of being in the fleshsmith's control group, or being turned into a living and breathing piece of furniture for an Archon's quarters. In a cruel twist of fate, a newly born Drukari does not arrive into this world loving torture. It is something they must grow to love. Grow to appreciate the suffering of other beings in order to survive in the world they have been brought into. If they succeed, they become some of the worst monsters in the known galaxy. A dark reflection of the Craftworlders and a taste of what Eldar society was like before the fall. If they do not succeed, they must find purchase elsewhere. Often those will join smaller parts of Eldar society like the Exodites or the Harlequins. Exodites believe in a pre-industrial variant of their society, often retreating to more lush worlds to ride dinosaurs and live off the land. Prehistoric style that I would normally laugh at if they weren't riding dinosaurs like ballers. The Harlequin dancing troupe are a subsect of Eldar, but are more than just a little strange. A carnival of dancing jesters that serve the Eldar laughing god of Kegarak. They arrive never when expected and leave just as quickly. The
Spanish
Inquisition carry
Inquisition.
their footsteps as they dance their foes into a grave. Combat is just as much of a joke as it is a play on bloody murder. They travel and aid many other Eldar and sometimes even humanity for reasons we can never understand. Perhaps one day we would have, were they not stripped of their army book and folded into the Eldari Codex. So I suppose it'll have to stay a mystery. Or maybe it was one of Kegarak's master plans to get back at She Who Thirsts and save their species.
Okay, maybe. Copium?
Who could know? Perhaps it was all a sick and practical joke to Kegarak, and he would just find it very funny to watch me fumble the discussion of one human on a tiny blue planet across the galaxy. Oh, speaking of.
Oh, here we go.
Before the fall of the
Varsity
Eldar,
Rome.
Earth, or Terra, as it's called, was in ruin. One man wants to put the pieces back together. Where did he come from? We don't know.
Cotton Eye
Some
Joe.
say he was the result of early shamans. Some say he is the final old one who escaped their species genocide. And those that are smartest know the answer is it doesn't matter. He revealed himself as the Emperor of Mankind, and he was tasked with the most monumental upheaval of humanity possible. The Eldari's warp fluctuations had turned the golden age of humanity into old night. Interstellar travel cut off? Check. An AI uprising? Check. Brand new psychers popping up and not knowing how to handle their powers? Oh,
check.
Demonic incursions? Check. Thousands of years this occurred, and now the Emperor of Mankind showed himself to put the pieces back together. Unifying Terra under his rule, the Emperor founded the Imperium of Man and ruled it with an iron fist. He was the supreme leader and nothing could stand against him. He wished to remove mankind from the yoke of its former failures, and he knew he would be the best leader they could have because he was right. AI banned, religion banned. You did as the Emperor told you, or his Thunder Warriors would put you in your place. That place often being a grave. Now, Terra was thriving, but humanity needed
the one thing to band all the boys together. Going on a crusade.
Stars. But to do so, he needed those that could build him a fleet truly meant for the reconquering of the galaxy.
He needed
so he turned his attention
STEM.
to the red planet of Mars.
Apparently that's where all the STEM students are.
Mars and Terra were close allies long before the Unification Wars. Mars was the first world terraformed by humanity and became what would ultimately be the first hive world, an epicenter for industry and technology. The Age of Strife did not treat the Red Planet kindly, however.
Mhm.
Mars was cut off from Terra during this time,
Right.
and the warp storms that ravaged the planet turned it into an absolute nuclear hellscape.
Eh.
Those who were on the surface were turned into your run-of-the-mill mutant, if they even survived the bombings they inflicted on themselves, but others were lucky enough to escape beneath the red sands in powerful fallout shelters. These became their generational habitats, but this resulted in extreme reliance on technology and those who could use it. They began to view the technology keeping them alive less as a technological advancement and more of a divine intervention, with those skilled in it as priests. The Martians began to worship the power of the machine, and this resulted in the formation of the cult Mechanicus, the belief in a holy trinity known as the 3-in-1. The machine god, serving as the spirit who gave rise to all technologies known, the motive force, the deity that gives all life its ability
God,
to
the Holy
live,
Spirit,
and the Omnissiah, a physical manifestation
and
of
Jesus.
the machine
It's literally
God
the Holy
itself.
Trinity
This
of God, the
belief
Holy
began
Spirit,
to
and Jesus,
manifest
the
in
Son of
them
God.
physically as
Okay.
well. Where once humans began to really mess around with the character
Okay,
options,
Catholic
and this tech
engineers.
obsession
Got it.
made them view
Catholic
instances
Martian
of
engineers.
flesh to be weak and spend their lives removing what makes them human and replacing it with mechanical augments.
Big fans of the
Robotic
$6 million
limbs,
man.
robotic
Okay.
eyes, mechadendrite arms. What was once a mass of flesh now looks like the back of a router. And the oldest members of the Mechanicus no longer even look slightly human. In addition to this, cloaked over all of their mechanical appendages are robes that reflect the color of their homeworld, the red robes of the Mechanicus. The Cult Mechanicum, now the Adeptus Mechanicus, create a fascinating combination of cultures all birthed into one. Basically, techno-zealot monks. Organic life is the machine god's greatest accomplishment within the scope of the great work. All praise he who is 3-in-1. By giving us life within
The
an organic
Omicron in
shell,
Final
he
Fantasy
presents us with the
XIV.
means and opportunity to improve upon physicality.
Gotcha.
As is his divine
So
plan.
basically-
He grants us complex weakness so we might learn metallic strength and ascend to his level of machine.
In other words, becoming
perfection.
steel is just an
The
improvement
Emperor's
upon the
arrival to Mars
system.
was very much a walking in with the pizzas while the room is on fire moment. But to the Mechanicum, they saw his arrival as confirmation of their belief. They
Right.
took one look at the glowing golden entity that showed up on their doorstep and were like, that's him. That's the guy right there. And they immediately accepted him as the Omnissiah. Obviously, showing up and being called Machine Jesus shortly after wiping out.
He
all
caught the
instances
Jesus
of
parallel, let's
non-Machine
go.
Jesus a little bit beforehand.
Or rather,
is
I caught the Jesus
instance of
parallel.
Capital H heresy. But the Emperor saw the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Were they strange with how they rubbed unguents on themselves, burned incense, and prayed to machines for them to work? Sure, but that's a lot of production right there.
Yeah.
So the Emperor devised the Treaty of Olympus Mons, a unifying agreement between Terra and Mars. And this union would be permanently etched into the Aquila of the Imperium as the two-headed eagle. One head for Terra, and the other for Mars. The forces of the Emperor would be supplied with all the technology and weapons they needed to reunite the scattered remnants of humanity under one banner. And the Mechanicum of Mars would be able to keep doing what they were doing religiously and scientifically, so long as they kept up their tithes. This tithe meant total quality control over all technology in the Imperium. Is it a big spaceship? AdMech take care of that. Tanks? AdMech take care of that. The literal bullets in a gun? You guessed it. But unlike the factories of today, the forge worlds of Mars and the creations of the Mechanicum are a bit of a different experience altogether. Instead of a factory on a random given world, the entirety of the planet's surface is dedicated to manufacturing. But that's a little tricky, isn't it? Considering that the usage of silica animus, or AI, is a big no-no, and basically the largest affront to their divine machine god possible. Fortunately, there's a really neat alternative that they've come up with. And that's called a servitor. Incredible devices that can do anything from manufacturing, maintenance, basic door operation, even just float around like a helpful little drone. It's an extremely easy process too. All you need to do is take a human who is dying or preferably an enemy of the state, most likely that one,
Okay.
and lobotomize them. And then reprogram their brains to do exactly what they tell you. They even got little baby versions of them. Yay! So now you can rest easy knowing that the entirety of the Imperium, because they outlaw AI and learning new tech is heresy, is run on lobotomized slaves. Whether they deserve it
basically
or not is
their
unimportant, and
AI is
whether they can
organic
still
free
keep their
range.
consciousness trapped in their own minds is another thing entirely.
Ah. Oh, I have no mouth and I must scream kind of stuff going on here.
An excerpt from the Servitor Creation Factors.
Okay.
Naked human beings were standing in a switch-packed line between high fences. The manufactorum produced servitors, but it was more akin to an abattoir than a workshop.
Abattoir.
Every surface was easily cleanable. Servitors with spray units surgically attached to their backs prowled about, hosing filth from slit drains set into the perfectly smooth, slanted floors. As the line slowly advanced, the people were passed through various scanning devices, most of them mounted in ugly, functional arches that let out a constant series of acceptance chimes. Occasionally, one would let out an angry blare, and the indicator lumens would flash red.
Oh, no.
The rejected person was then swallowed up by a trapdoor opening beneath their feet. From these pits wafted a hideous stench.
Surprisingly
and the grinding
cartoonish.
sounds of industrial mincers. One rejected man grabbed onto the lip and hung there, arms and hands bloodied, shouting a stream of defiant profanities. Guards lined the grating either side of him and shocked him until he fell. The adepts wouldn't even waste bullets on these people. The trapdoor flipped up, and the next terrified person was ushered forward. Violent metal arms snatched them up and spread-eagled them in the air, and a servitor shearer shaved them all over. At another, they were subjected to a high-pressure counterseptic wash whose chemical stink made me choke from 100 feet away.
Oh, wait a
More
minute.
scanners, more rejects winnowed out. Machines forcibly dressed them in a heavy rubberized garment common to all monotask servitors. These were saggy on them, all one size, until another process shrank them to fit their bodies where metal cuffs, sockets, and collars bit into vulnerable flesh. The last few prayers gave way to screams at that point, and even the most stoic shouted in pain. They were ushered over a floor, buzzing with power that made them shriek with every footstep. "What's that for?" I asked. "Follicular inhibitor. To stop their hair from growing."
Oh.
Freaking sweet, Lois. As for their scientific pursuits, Mechanicum believe in the preservation of knowledge.
I wonder
above
why
all
they
and
get rid of
quest
the
to
hair.
expand. However, as opposed to just innovating and inventing on their own with their vast technological know-how, they believe that it is a form of tech heresy. You see, because of their religious viewpoints on technology itself, they believe that the instruction booklet itself is just as holy as the Lego set it builds. And to innovate on that without the proper written knowledge is to go against the divine word of the machine god itself.
They do not
knowledge is
kit
already
bash.
in the universe. You simply need to rediscovering it and attempting to invent something to improve upon divinity is very heretical. Prior to the Age of Strife, humanity was able to populate the stars with devices known as standard template constructs, or STCs. These devices
They
were,
may
as far
not
as we
like
know,
even-
supercomputers with the ability to pull up and detail how to create
They may
literally
not even be
anything a
cool with
star
stuff
quality
like
would need.
third-party
Essentially, they were
add-ons,
devices with the
effects
entirety of
kits,
human
water slide
technological know-how
decals,
so that you
panel
could
lining
make
might
it
be
all
an
the way from
issue.
home. The Mechanicum will not make anything without an STC. Quite literally nothing. Because this is the knowledge they seek, and that knowledge is divine.
Okay.
One time, scouts of the Imperial Guard found a functioning STC that provided the schematics on a knife that happened to be a bit lighter and a bit sharper than most other knives. These knives were adopted by 30 Space Marine chapters and were one of the most advanced discoveries of the century. This discovery was so significant that they were each awarded a planet for finding this.
Oh.
A planet for a machine that taught them how to make knives. Due to their religious organization, you can probably guess the Mechanicum are organized in a feudal structure with the highest individuals in power being a part of the priesthood.
Right.
The crop being the fabricator general of Mars itself, who serves as a high lord of Terra,
Fabricator
but also oversees
general.
the entirety of the Mechanicum below. Below them are tech priests that oversee the cult for the quest of knowledge and other more straightforward theocracy. Forge worlds tend to operate slightly more independently, what can cause some power struggles with the Mechanicum, because, you know, despite them all being weird robots, they love being given praise. And despite being the manufacturing end of the Imperium, they do actually have their own military forces. They have the Skitarii Private Army and all their various 1920s Martian...
Jailbroke your laser rifles,
like
eagles into songs.
crawlers,
Unfortunately, you've
robots, and
committed a
boss.
heresy to the
Titan
Inquisition
Legions,
with you.
Because nothing is cooler than a robot that towers over buildings.
Hell yeah.
Ultimately, their very dogmatic view on technology as a whole has resulted in any innovation becoming absent, thus causing the Imperium to stagnate as a whole. The lack of ambition to create anything new and the wholesale murder of anyone who even tries leads to things becoming derelict. I grow weary of this flesh I was born into, strangely disgusted by its nature. I crave only the cold, clean certainty of steel and silicon, that I might become one with the blessed machine.
Once again,
I do not
Final
expect
Fantasy
you to
XIV
understand. You
Omicron.
who cling to your flesh as if it were immortal, seeking only to preserve it, to protect it. One day you will see the folly of your ways, and then no doubt you will come begging to my order to preserve you. After the groundwork had been set unification-wise, it was time to start getting things together for the Emperor's great crusade across the stars to bring humanity under one banner. The Thunder Warriors were a perfect fighting force for unifying Terra and Luna, but the galaxy was a whole different
Goddamn
thing. You
80s
see,
ass
these
art right
warriors
there.
weren't soldiers in the eyes of the Emperor. They were tools, extremely blunt tools used for the fast conquest of Terra. As the Emperor was concerned, the tools you use at home aren't the same ones you take on a road trip. So the Emperor rid himself of his tools in the exact manner you think he did, and he went forward to crafting a brand new tool. One more mobile, more efficient, and ready for his next era of conquest.
Oh, wow.
They shall be my finest warriors, these men who give of themselves to me. Like clay, I shall mold them, and in the furnace of war forge them. They will be of iron will and steely muscle. In great armor shall I clad them, and with the mightiest guns will they be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease. No sickness will blight them. They will have tactics, strategies, and machines so that
Is
no
the Emperor
foe
about
can
to commit
best them in battle.
eugenics?
They will be my bulwark against the terror. They are the defenders of humanity. They are my soul.
America!
And they shall know no fear. The vastness of the Milky
He's
Way
about to play
galaxy
Spore.
meant that the Emperor needed assistance bringing everyone back to the fold.
Right.
And who better to do this than himself? But since the technology to be in many places at once does not exist anymore, the Emperor decided that it was time to become a dad, the same way Geppetto did, and with far less care. It is not my son, Arkin. None of them are. They are warlords, generals, tools bred to serve a purpose, just as legions were bred to serve a purpose.
Okay.
For the dad, the Primarch Project was started to create charismatic and unique leaders in the Imperial military. The diversity of these eventual leaders meant that each one could be specialized for certain circumstances across the galaxy, depending on the type of conflict. One leader might be better than the other.
It's like
So instead of
exploring Les
forcing one
Enfants
leader
titty,
to
but
act only
okay,
to a
all
situation
right.
directly, it would be better to send a specialized
Which
leader
faction
and
got
force to
the
handle it.
recessive
In order
genes?
to do this, the Emperor used his genetic know-how and maybe a little bit of that forbidden stuff to create these genetically perfect gene fathers that had the ability to serve as his analog directly and also serve as the leaders of the respective Space Marine legions.
Ha.
20, all 18, that's right, all 19 of his sons were meant to be directly molded by the Emperor himself, despite
Yo,
their
the
genetic
eyelashes on this
differences.
guy, though?
And they go as
The
follows
eyelashes on
in
3?
order. Lionel Johnson, Fulgrim, Percherabo, Jagatai Khan, Lehman Russ, Rogel Dorn, Conrad Kurz, Sanguinius, Ferris Manus, Angron, Robute Gilliman, Mortarion, Magnus the Red, Horus Lupercal, Lorgar Aurelian, Vulcan, Corvus Corax, and Alfarius and Omegon. His sons, finalized and crafted to be the warriors he needed them
Okay.
to be, were complete.
Bit of an
But he
inconsistent
decided
naming
to do
theme there.
a bit of dabbling with things he shouldn't have.
Uh-oh.
And paid a price. Before the Primarchs were ready to go, an intervention by the gods of chaos prevented his plan from being completed
Oh
as
no.
intended. Though the sources vary, the ultimate result of the Chaos God intervention was that all of the Emperor's tools were scattered throughout the galaxy at unknown places and times.
Oh.
Each one of his sons ended up in a completely different world, and instead of being able to directly influence their upbringing, these children were instead forced to experience the unique nature of their respective homeworlds. Some had a great time. and
Nature
lived
versus
in general
nurture.
luxury.
They didn't get to be
Others,
nurtured.
not so much. Despite his closest
kinda, they kinda
advisor
got nurtured.
Outdoor the Sigilite saying, "All right, Chief, let's try this one again," the Emperor sensed each of his sons were still very much alive. And one of the primary objectives of the Great Crusade shifted to reclaiming each of his sons so they could take command of their specific Space Marine
But also they're
legions
not his
and
sons.
carry out his will. These original Space Marine legions that were created alongside their Primarchs go in order: the Dark Angels, Emperor's Children, Iron Warriors, White Scars, Space Wolves, Imperial
Wait, that was
Fists,
among-
Night Lords.
Is that
Blood
the poker
Angels,
rap?
Iron Hands, World Eaters, Ultramarines, Death Guard, whoosh, Thousand Sons, Luna Wolves, eventually Sons of Horus, the Word Bearers, Salamanders, Raven Guard, and the Alpha Legion. Space Marines, unlike their gene fathers,
I think that was the
Primarchs
poker
are not
rap.
made in a vat. There is a process to recruit more members from humanity itself, which seems a bit strange considering how massive a Space Marine is compared to a normal man, but don't forget, the Emperor is really good with genetics. Less good with anesthetic, however.
Oh,
These
no.
prospects are recruited across humanity from various reasons and methods, and are generally killed during that process.
Oh.
But sometimes they aren't, and they are able to go through more and more of the actual training to assess certain traits that are important and relevant to being a Space Marine.
Hey.
Most of the time, the common factor is a pure, unrelenting willingness to kill the enemies of the Imperium.
Oh.
After going through psychological
What a simple
screening,
criteria.
the prospect, now called a neophyte, goes under the knife to become a Space Marine. And here is a quick list of all the cool new stuff they get genuinely shoved into their bodies. A secondary heart, an organ that makes your bones grow, an organ that makes your muscles big, an implant that makes your blood
it's like the
stronger,
Spartans in
a little organ that turns your
Halo.
white blood cells into super white blood cells, a brain implant that allows you to sleep while being awake, a pre-stomach that allows you to digest literally anything, a spinal implant that allows you to absorb the genetic memories of what you eat, bigger and better lungs that can let you breathe underwater, an implant that gives you stronger eyes, new ears that keep you from being dizzy, a
Sniffer
brain
on the
implant that
tongue.
lets you go into suspended animation if you're in a bad shape, skin that acts like transition glasses, I almost got it in one take, a brand new kidney, the ability to taste the air and find enemies like a bloodhound, a special coating on your skin that allows you to be protected in space, the ability to spit acid, a gland that allows you to absorb the unique genetic makeup from the gene seed in the first place, and a straight up carapace that allows the Space Marine
I
to
will
interface
say,
with their power
the space
armor.
SPF is surprisingly
These
considerate.
are put inside of you at dubious levels of mental alertness and dubious levels of anesthetic. After a more generalized
Gotcha.
indoctrination into the faith of the Imperium and a bit more training and other important manners, they can finally be welcomed as a fully fledged Space Marine. A Space Marine is
They
quite
finally
literally
passed
a
the football
walking tank
tryouts.
that is armed to the teeth. Two of the more iconic weapons held by a Space Marine are their bolt gun, which fires explosive shells the size of soda cans, and a chain sword, which is... The Space Marine is clad in a colorful carapace known as power armor, crafted from extremely heavy and durable ceramite. The power armor of a Space Marine protects him from any terrors he may face, be it the void of space itself to an inhospitable atmosphere. This armor, combined almost biologically with an already massive physique, makes the Space Marine an almost unstoppable fighting force. And hell, if the
Basically
armor
a
doesn't
walking
protect them enough,
tank.
they can always become a walking coffin like the dreadnoughts.
Oh, they actually have walking tanks. Never mind.
All, however, is the sheer difference in some of them. While a Space Marine in its own right is an indoctrinated freight train on legs, how they act can be quite different from chapter to chapter. The gene seed of a Primarch is not just helping them become big and strong, but allows them to gain certain traits from their forefathers. Everything from how they think to even slightly adjusting their physical appearance once it's been implanted. The gene seed can be the personality of an entire Space Marine. Take the Salamanders, for example. Salamanders have a predisposition to fire as a whole, and tend to be extremely large due to the size of their Primarch, Vulcan, and his enormous stature. Whereas someone like Sanguinius, Primarch of the Blood Angels, share more vampiric features and more angel-like.
So they have to be invited in?
The seed is not just aspects of the Primarchs, but they are also flaws too. Magnus the Red and his 1,000 Sons underwent something known as the Flesh Change, a horrifying mutation that, while it made them strong psychers, would affect their bodies so terribly that they would mutate away from humanity. Other factions have inspiration for their culture from our real world, like the feudal Japanese of the Eldar or Egyptian style the Necrons. Each Space Marine chapter themselves carry an inspiration. The White Scars are motorcycle riding Mongolian fighters. The Space Wolves are Norse Vikings. The Dark Angels are Knights of the Round Table. And so this moves into their fighting style. And truthfully, there is no end to the characters and options when it comes to the Space Marines. Space Marines are the main
Mongolians on motorcycles?
Many of them can be simply indoctrinated warriors who only care about conflict and can be quite boring. Then you meet Dante, or Bjorn, or Argel Tal, or Karn, or Lucius, or Erebus. And then you discover the wealth of these characters and tools of war you can have. For 1,100 years, I have fought and I have seen the darkness in our galaxy. I have seen the vileness of the alien and the heresy of the mutant. I have witnessed the sin of possession, and I have seen all the evil that the galaxy harbors, and I have slain all whose presence defiles the Emperor. I have seen what you will see. I have fought what you must fight, and I have slain what you must slay. So fear not and be proud, for we are the sons of Sanguinius, the protectors of mankind. We are indeed the angels.
Can they have garlic?
Despite being the poster children for
Can they have garlic?
As a whole, the presence of a Space Marine is a rare sight for the countless trillions of humans across the galaxy. Seeing one of these monstrosities is like seeing something akin to an
They can have space garlic.
Emperor himself. These angels of death are the essential fighting force to bring humanity back under the unified banner of the Imperium. Yet ultimately, the Space Marines are individuals torn from their families and conscripted to genetic modification and lifelong service for the dying Imperium. And though they are held in an almost holy light, most believe they are above and beyond the people they are designed to serve. Once designed as the protectors of humanity, they seldom view humanity as something worth saving. To the extent that it is a tiny, minute rarity, though not unheard of, for a Space Marine to put a normal citizen above them in any way. For most Space Marines and even their Primarchs, they are only here to do a job. They are there to kill the enemies of humanity, and I would be remiss if I didn't add at least one more of my favorite quotes to the tail end of this section.
Still like a football player in high school, they think they're better than everyone else.
The first great test is here. My order to you all is simple, yet heed it well, and exert yourselves to see it done. They are coming. Kill them all. Well, the Space Marines are the spearhead of the Imperium's Great Crusade and also a major player in its warfare. There is a significant amount of importance that must be taken on their transport. What sci-fi universe would be complete without its navy? When you think of the navy, ships on the open sea, you think of something that is sleek, something mobile, and something pretty big. For perspective, the longest self-propelled ship in history was the TTC-Wise Giant.
I still think of the Yamato.
That was about 458 meters long,
or its goofy guns.
Feet. This right here is child's play in the world of 40K ships. A ship that is considered to be an escort vessel in the Imperium is about 3 times the size of a Sea-Wise Giant. And the size of the ships only go up from there. The most common ships are the cruisers. The light cruiser
so a little larger in scale. Gotcha.
Long, or just over a mile in length, where the Dictator class cruisers can be over 3 kilometers or 2 miles in length. The largest ships are your battleships, and they are tremendous. We're talking 5-mile long, half a mile high monstrosities that look like gigantic Gothic cathedrals and filled to the brim
do they have flying buttresses?
Also jam-packed with crewmen. Battleships tend to, on average, carry a crew between several thousand to several million.
Are there flying
And they need
buttresses,
every single
Bricky?
one of those members, because we don't have advanced technology for other things to pilot themselves or control themselves in a meaningful way, because there's no AI. A lot of this stuff has to be done manually. Even the reloading of those giant batteries is a form of manual labor. And, of course, generally speaking, gliding through the stars is a very slow way to do things.
Yes.
And let's be honest, there can't be a science fiction setting without some form of hyperspace
Very
travel.
scenic.
This form of travel in 40K is less like going to Plaid in Spaceballs and more like going into Davy Jones' zipper dimension in SpongeBob.
Oh.
Now what? I suppose you're gonna show me. Oh, gee, that's very nice. Oh, what is this? Some kind of magic act?
Oh. I actually was not familiar with this clip. Alrighty then. Oh.
This is because it utilizes the immaterial warp to do so. Warp travel is handled by a navigator, which is a half human. It's a mutated human, don't worry about it. And they have a gene that gives them a third eye and the ability to help steer the ship through the warp, which, as we know, is hell itself and unreality. Now, this might sound exceptionally dangerous, and that's because it is.
So they're surfers?
Now, the ship does have protection in the form of a Geller field, though. Originally, I assumed the Geller field is what you think it is, a large force field stopping all manner of horrible things, like demons from the warp tearing apart your ship. How wrong I was, though. So space travel through the warp basically involves riding on the sea of souls.
Okay, we're
Hell
surfing.
is real and you can surf on it. So you allow the current to carry you and the navigator to direct. But how can a current of souls and unreality carry you when it doesn't obey the laws of physics, time, or, again, reality? What a Geller field is not a force field, but a comatose imperial psyker dreaming of reality. It is not a bubble. It is a force of reality being projected.
Oh, it's a reality marble. Okay.
To counteract the unreality of the warp.
Gotcha. Okay, they use a reality marble. Got it.
It's not a foolproof method of travel, and Geller fields can and do collapse fairly regularly. Being subjected to the warp itself without this Geller field is a terrifying prospect. In the best case scenario, your ship will be torn to shreds. But there are countless instances of ships being thrown out of the warp randomly throughout time itself. You leave for a 2-day mission and you come back 90 years in the past.
Okay, so let me explain reality marbles real quick. So reality marbles are a concept in the Nasuverse, in Fate Stay Night, where basically the user is able to kind of temporarily overlap reality and project their own internal reality. And the reason why I compare this to the Geller fields is because the world recognizes that the reality being projected is not the reality that's supposed to be there and actively pushes against the reality marble to basically restore how things are supposed to be. So that is that. That is why I drew that parallel to reality marbles and Geller fields. But most people in Fate are conscious when they use their reality marbles. So, you know, slight difference there.
Maybe you feel like you're lost in the warp for a century and it's only been 45 minutes. And that is only if the waves of souls don't rip your ship apart or have demons arrive on it to do unspeakable things to the crew. The Imperial Navy is an astronomically powerful force for the Imperium because the sheer volume of ships and guns on those ships create firepower that can sunder planets. This is all juxtaposed with the sheer backwater nature of these ships. While they are manned by crews of zealots, they are also operated with such a backwater tech, it completely confuses the reader. You see the long batteries of port-side cannons that the ship has, and remember that AI is heresy in this world, and that all the mechanics are utilized by lobotomized slaves. So how do they load these? Well, they have gun gangs, massive gangs of hundreds of people manually loading these cannons. These are genuine gun loader gangs.
That's where I thought we were going.
And squabbles.
Wait, you mean that kind of gang? Hold up. All right, hang on. Hold up.
Gun gangs.
Run that back.
Massive gangs of hundreds of people manually loading these cannons. These are genuine gun loader gangs that get into gang wars and squabbles. On the ship's bridge, you may find the captain himself hardwired directly into the ship's chair permanently to control it the best they can. Giant screens.
Shit, right, ads. Okay, all right. Okay, that's crazy. I was like, okay, I was expecting this. I was expecting hordes of slave labor reloading things, but I didn't realize you could get attached to Gun Ballast 2 and have beef with the bullet loaders from Gun Ballast 4. That's crazy. Do they have people who are like generationally born into gun gangs? Oh, that's wild. That is such a wild concept. What the heck? That's where they go with that? What? Gun gangs and they get into fights? Yeah, the aft is our turf. What the heck are you portside losers doing here? Lame-ass larboard lefties. Look at these larboard losers. Starboard shitheads. Asshole aft hats. Portside. Porknoids. Stern suckers. I'm just trying to think of like really goofy like names they could call each other. It's probably nowhere near that tame. Starboard for life. Oh my god. It is insane to me just how much lore comes with just explaining the basics of every faction, but it is also insanely impressive how accessible Bricky has made all of that information in this video to process. I am genuinely shocked and impressed at how well he has broken down this information and made it digestible. It's insane because we've gone through so many factions and at no point have I felt significantly overwhelmed by all of the information being presented. It is actually kind of crazy how well done this is. Like, I'm genuinely impressed and in awe of what he has put together here. Like, not only do I feel genuinely interested, it's also just like, he's just done a very good job with it. Holy, like, damn.
With data, fill the room, and sensors across the ship are just as likely to tell you information as a serf running up to you with a scroll of parchment is. You reach to a microphone to shout orders down a hallway as paper readouts tell you information of the enemy, and holy sigils and candlelit incense burners gleam your next move. While the is not a specific faction of the Imperium in the same sense and format of this video, it is what shepherds around the entirety of its armed forces. Every Space Marine Primarch had a flagship, and every strike cruiser and battle barge has a story to tell. But if there's a single thing that the Shield of the Navy does the best, it is to help support and supply the monumental forces of the Imperium. The hammer of the Emperor himself, the uncountable men and women of the...
Oh, is this the Praetorian Guard?
I don't care if these things have adapted to resist our las guns. If we can't kill them with our rifles, then we'll kill them with heavy bolters. And if we can't kill them with heavy weapons, we'll use grenades. And if grenades don't work, then we'll fight them with our swords and our knives and our bare hands. We'll drown them in our blood. That's what it means to be a soldier of the Imperial Guard. Now follow me. Charge!
Well then.
There is no better symbol of the might of the Imperium itself than the Astra Militarum, or as it is commonly known, the Imperial Guard. Though the Space Marines take the glory and stand as the visual representation
Right.
of the Imperium, their numbers are dramatically thin and specialized in comparison.
Right.
To reclaim 1,000,000 worlds, you need a countless number of troops willing to fight and die for your cause. The Imperial Guard represents the Imperial truth made manifest.
G.I.
Every
Joes.
year, the worlds of the Imperium pay a tithe in the form of soldiers to fight the good fight of the Emperor, and this number is impossible to pin down. Even saying billions would be a dramatic
So basically,
understatement. The sheer
everyone
volume
sends
of
part of the
soldiers
graduating
serves as
class
the
from high
fundamental
school to
backbone
the
of
military
Imperium.
instead of to college.
99.9% of battles fought by the Imperium are fought by the sundering might of the Imperial Guard.
Gotcha.
With the knowledge that the Space Marines are essentially sentient tanks, what do the members of the Imperial Guard have? If they're the might of the Emperor himself, are they not suited up in a similar way?
Probably
No.
not.
Not really.
Okay.
No fancy suits.
That's what
no
I thought.
biological enhancements, and basically no expectation to live. Once a regiment of guard are activated, they are sent directly into battle with almost no expectations that they will survive. This is because, despite their training, their incredibly powerful armor and extremely strong weapons that would crush any army of the modern day, they are so hopelessly outmatched to the things they will face. Sending a member of the guard is throwing a rock at a nuclear bomb. However, where they lack in advancement,
Hydrogen
they make
bomb
up
versus
for
coughing
in
baby.
sheer numbers, and their overwhelming force can be the difference maker in any deployment they face. Quantity is a quality all its own. If they do happen to survive, they will be sent to the next battle, and so on. Seldom do members of the Astra Military get old or retire, and those that do are truly to be feared. There's an old saying that the average lifespan of a guardsman is about 15 hours from deployment, and considering the sheer number of guardsmen out there in any given battle, that number is probably accurate. When several million of your pool of guardsmen die within the first few hours of combat because the orcs threw a moon at you, it can really screw the numbers. The soldiers of the guard are conscripted and trained on an incredible number of worlds in the Imperium, and these worlds can impact their training and their combat style directly. The most famous visually are the Cadian shock troops. But other notable guard factions include the gas mask clad death corps of Krieg, the Rambo level of Catachin
That is very
Fighters,
Rambo.
and the iron-willed Mordian Iron Guard. This also helps them
Interesting
specialize
choice
against
of
individual types of enemies.
imagery.
The Indigan Prefects are a special guard regiment that came from a planet whose planetary governor, the leader of the planet, thought it was fun to collect exotic animals, which then crossbreed and then became the giant freight train-sized monsters destroying the planet. So the Indigan Prefects are specialized for big monsters.
Monster Hunter.
Hello, Tyranids. One particularly interesting officer in the Guard is the enforcement officer known as the Commissar, and they are one of the more visually striking members of the regiment. These are specialized Imperial officers and act as morale officers. But instead of singing songs to the troops and providing hot meals, the Commissars are there to make sure that the members of the regiment continue to fight to the bitter end. If a soldier does not meet the standards of the Commissar, the solution is simple.
Kill them.
There are trillions of other soldiers out there.
Yeah, okay.
We don't really need you.
Bye.
Headshot. Concerns about the conflict?
Headshot.
Fleeing the battlefield?
Headshot.
You bet that's a headshot.
Hey.
Considering that these officers tend to be outside of their regiment, feelings on them can be mixed. And in fairness, certain commissars, like the esteemed Ibram Gaunt or Caiaphas Cain, tend to do a bit better with the whole people talking part, because if, say, you were trying to tell a beefed up Catachin jungle fighter what to do, you might take a mysterious leave of absence inside a carnivorous plant. No matter what I say, I don't think I can truly convey the sheer might of the Imperial Guard, so I'm going to get a visual aid. Let's take a look at this image right here, right? This is the cover of the 9th edition Codex for the Astra Militari.
9th edition.
The official cover art.
Yes.
Your eyes may be drawn to the dark and brutal looks of some of the main members on the front and the gigantic orc they are attacking.
Right.
But zoom out a little bit. There is no floor. There is only people. And behind those people are tanks. And behind those tanks are flying artillery shells. There are 2 enormous transport ships in the sky, and their ramps are down, and on their ramps are more people. The Imperium is described as having 1,000,000 worlds.
That's a lot of people.
Worlds. And each one of them gives soldiers to the Imperial Guard for the tithe. On a given battlefield, in a given fight, foot soldiers number in the millions, tanks in the tens of thousands, and you have enough artillery to turn the night sky day. You have walkers and APCs and aircraft and horse cavalry and tanks.
They have horses? They have space horses?
Buildings. You have drop troops and spec ops and rattling snipers and gigantic ogres that can't count to 4, but they can turn you into 4 pieces, and it just doesn't end. Humanity is a horde army, but instead of a horde of bugs or rampaging orcs, it's a living wall of guns. At the end of the day, though he's been ferried through hell on a ship that's 10,000 years old to some godforsaken war-torn rock, though he deployed from high orbit with nothing but a grav chute, though he is one of 10 million men and women snatched from his homeworld to fight a war he barely understands, though he has been given a weapon that fires small suns and may annihilate him as he fires because the knowledge of how it functions has been lost, though his company is supported by tractor tanks that run on anything you can burn, though he wages war against the devouring hive mind, ravenous demons, and hordes of hyper-advanced aliens with strange technologies and sorceries he never dreamed existed. No one will remember his sacrifice. There will be no records of his deeds, no glorious parades in his honor, and no remembrance of his name. All he will earn is a shallow, unmarked grave on a forgotten world, untold light years from home. Yet for all this thankless sacrifice,
Hatsune Miku! Oh my gosh, hi!
Like he has no millennia-old genetic engineering.
Where are you seeing Hatsune Miku? I want to see Hatsune Miku.
His orders and those
Why am I saying it like that? It's Hatsune Miku. I know it's Miku, not Miku.
And he will hold the line.
Oh
In
boy.
the end, the Astra Militarum, despite fighting for the honor of the Imperium, are their own form of a massive horde army where individuality does not matter. They are merely numbers to the Imperium.
Visually World War II.
Conflicts they are sent to are attrition-based battles that gain virtually no ground while countless millions die. Yet this makes them the most human. For the Imperial Guard contains normal people who are happy and sad, people who laugh and love, and in there are stories.
Right.
Because there is strength in facing the horrors of the universe head on with nothing but a rifle in your hands and a prayer on your lips.
Right.
Armed with an innumerable amount of Imperial soldiers and Space Marines, the Navy begins its great crusade into the stars to rescue the stranded Primarchs and reunite them to their legions. But the biggest question needed to be asked was, what would they find?
Yeah.
The age of strife lasted for thousands of years.
Did they actually find the
civilization
kids
was still alive out there in
who
the
aren't
galaxy,
actually kids?
What would they be like? The technological advancements of humanity prior to and during the Dark Age
sympathize.
technology was unfathomable. It allowed them to spread through the galaxy with ease and allowed them to settle once inhospitable planets. These branches of humanity were provided with the vast knowledge of human creations and were given gigantic machines to make arduous labor and ease. The spreading of these massive colony ships was known as the Long March, and these ships would be retrofitted into settlements upon arrival to their new homes. Accompanying them were the gigantic pieces of farm equipment that served multiple purposes and the specialized pilots that could maintain them.
These are the things that get converted into the
labor, but when interstellar communication was cut off, they also did a great job of protecting the colonists against both threats demonic and alien. Because of the significance of these machines, those that could pilot them were powerful enough to be considered leaders, and the upkeep and preservation of the machines and the lineage of those who could pilot them was imperative. These machines over
STEM majors in demand.
would be known as the He must be humble of heart, strong of arm, be savage in war, loyal to hearth, and follow deeds of glory. He must keep honor with all, banish cowardice from his doings, and bring his house no shame. He must serve the emperor and defend the imperium.
It's really funny how close some of these quotes are to like
The Age of
actual
Strife
military
caused these
speeches.
colonized worlds to be cut off from the imperium, and the reversion of these worlds resulted in the reverence for this farm equipment turned feudal. And the leadership that controlled the devices became viewed as a noble hierarchy. During the Age of Strife, exploratory fleets from Mars found plenty of these worlds, and it seemed the majority of them reverted to a similar state. Like King Arthur seeing Merlin himself, these feudal worlds welcomed the tech priests of Mars with open arms. The mutual relationship between the Admech and the nobility was beneficial. The Admech were able to secure more worlds for mining resources and potentially long-lost STC information, and the noble houses were provided with technological know-how and modifications from the Admech themselves. The suits became more and more specialized, and their history as mere pieces of equipment were lost to time. What was once a tractor became a killdozer, and the Imperial Knights were born. Unlike other military aspects in the Imperium, the nobility of the Knight houses remains just that, a nobility-focused feudal hierarchy that swears fealty to either the Mechanicum or to Terra. Like the Knights in our history, once they swear fealty, they can be called to aid their respective allegiance in the heat of battle. The ones that swear fealty to Terra are led by the High Monarch, while the ones with the Mechanicum are led by the Princeps. The ones with Terra
This may or may not be giving me Pacific Rim
vibes,
vibes.
while the ones with the Mechanicum tend to be sent to protect the Forge world. And the heraldry of these houses is what you'd expect from a generic history of knights. Houses pledging allegiances here and there, your run-of-the-mill War of the Roses aesthetic. Except instead of ponies, you have gigantic death machines. These knights can't seem to be piloted by any old person, however. A member of the nobility of any given knight house must go through the ritual of becoming. This ritual involves them sitting on the device used to control the knight, known as the Throne Mechanicum, for a full night. What's wrong with that? I mean, sitting in a chair for a full evening.
I mean, is this like some Armored Core shit?
So, a pilot cannot drive a knight. They can, but it moves about as effective as Ripley from Aliens 2, big, lifter thing. It is, in a sense, a beast that must be controlled, and a pilot must merge with it. The mind of the noble is connected to the machine and must fight with the mental signatures and personalities of the prior pilots as well. Everything a knight experiences in battle is felt by the pilot themselves, be it the general movement in the battlefield or damage sustained.
So it's a
by the
mix of
machine itself.
Evangelion
If a
and
knight's
Armored
leg is blown
Core,
off in
kind
battle,
of.
the pilot could experience a broken bone in the same spot. The merging to the machine forever changes the mentality of the noble that experiences it. This connection reinforces a strong degree of nobility and honor in the pilot, and a desire to fight for the glory of their house until the bitter end, as their ancestors' minds are linked directly to the knight. The size of these
There's
knights
machine
can vary, but
ghosts in all the
generally speaking,
knights.
They stand in the ballpark of 30 to 50 feet tall and are protected by a thick adamantium armor. Beyond that, they have their own unique ion shield generators that give them added protection. And when it comes to their looks, the most common pattern across the Imperium is the Questoris pattern, and is honestly the one you're probably thinking about right now. But there are also smaller versions like Armigers and bigger ones known as the Dominus. As for a loadout, these guys are essentially a violent Mr. Potato Head. Battle cannons,
Violent Mr.
Gatling
Potato
cannons,
Head, let's
flamers,
go.
thermal cannons. Up close and personal, how about a gigantic chainsword or a straight up gauntlet? And for that empty spot up top, screw it. More auto cannons.
Do any of them
Maybe
have
add some
pile
missiles.
drivers?
Whatever you can do to make it as over the top as possible, you gotta do it. A squire serves a knight.
Do any
a
of them
knight
have
serves
pile
a
drivers?
lord,
This is an
a
important
lord serves a
question.
baron, and a baron serves a monarch.
Okay.
So who does the monarch serve? He serves every subject, from the rudest serf to the members of the court. Chivalric fealty, when ideally practiced, is not a pyramid, but a circle. Ironically, on the surface, night worlds themselves are one of the least grim, dark settings in the galaxy. Reverting to an ancient time with knights and peasants is almost an escapism from the techno hell of the modern Imperium. But this, of course, doesn't make it great for everyone. It sounds fun on paper to play a game of knights, but it's not so fun when you're the peasant of that world. For the knights themselves, the knights give their entire lives to the Throne Mechanicum, and their reality is not their own, as they have to hear the voices of thousands of generations of their ancestors controlling their actions and their lives for as long as they live. It's a strange dichotomy. When it comes to Warhammer, most to all jobs tend to be terrible. However, if there was one that could be considered enjoyable, it would be the pilot of a knight, or a princeps of their larger cousins.
Interesting.
While it does contain an egregious amount of hardship to be a knight pilot, you do enjoy a wealth of privilege. A knight pilot is often an asshole who can back it up. The rich noble that, despite his braggadocious behavior, is still very much him, and he will continue to be him. But knights are not the only thing that the Imperium found lost in the stars during their Great Crusade. Due to the circumstances of the Age of Strife, humans were changing and adapting to their new homes they were now isolated. Some of these humans evolved over thousands of years to adapt to these areas, and they were known as abhumans. Many abhumans found their way into the Imperial Guard or other lesser positions in the Imperium if they were not wiped out immediately for being too different from their human counterparts. But their abilities and appearance vary from planet to planet, and one particular group of abhumans have made quite a name for themselves in the center of the galaxy.
The kin. Okay.
The origins of what will be known as the kin start at some point during the Dark Age technology,
Okay.
where their ancestors left a planet that is very much Terra and went to the galactic core to mine it of its resources. They brought along with them everything that they would need for a long-term stay, most important of which were the incredible AI-based supercomputers, be it guidance, technical or philosophical, schematics, or the ability to upload the memories of a deceased explorer to gather information from them. These computers
Rock and
became an
stone,
essential
diggy
part
diggy
of
hole.
their everyday life, especially considering that the galactic core is one of the most inhospitable places in the galaxy.
I mean, it
It
is
is an exceptionally star-dense location, full of abnormalities.
I mean, technically
black
the middle of
holes,
the
and
galaxy is a
sentient
super dense black
hostile
hole.
nebula. Whatever that last part means, it is not a safe and easy place to make a living.
No.
And this only got worse thanks to the warp storms during the Age of Strife.
Right.
In order to adapt to this area, these travelers perfected a genetic makeup that made their future clones to be more adept to the area. These future clones would be shorter and more robust than their ancestors, and the need to procreate would be unnecessary because why risk messing up a good employee when you can just make a new one? These would be known as the squats, and they would all die, except for when they didn't. And now they are known by a different name. Most void-faring races have at least one cautionary tale of foolish explorers vanishing amidst its blazing stellar nurseries and strange anomalies.
Are these
Yet for the leagues
Warhammer
of Votan,
dwarves?
the galactic core has been home now for millennia. These squat humanoids would begin to establish themselves in the core, and their goals would be the same as their ancestors.
Right.
Rock and stone! But like, actually kinda, yeah. When one of them would die,
actually diggy diggy hole
would need to be uploaded to the machines like their forefathers did. But the original purpose of these machines was lost to time. What was once a technical resource for them turned into a ritual known as joining the ancestors. And the fact that they were clones at this point meant that the same copy of the same individual would be uploaded countlessly. The sheer overuse of these computers and the repeated uploading of redundant data has turned these once powerful supercomputers into your parents' computer after you installed LimeWire on it, and whose 50 Google Chrome tabs definitely contain information they will return to one day. So much corruption that these computers began to develop the makings of a personality of their own. These would be known as the Votan, and the kin, this dwarf-like abhuman of humanity, would revere them. The Votan still operate to this day, but the volume of corruption have made anything outside of their very basic functions highly unpredictable. They may not answer a question for centuries at a time, and if they do provide an answer,
I've been noticing
data,
a theme with a lot of the factions.
So incongruent that it takes a literal kin wizard to comprehend it. The kin, much like the dwarves of fantasy, exist nowadays as a mercantile species that constantly work to mine and manufacture. However, their capitalistic desires are dangerous. The biggest crimes a kin can face are being lazy, unproductive, and breaking a contract. Stellar conflicts have broken out over hundreds of years due to the breaking of a deal. So if you sign a contract with a kin, you best stick to it. Because of this, the kin have been known to interact with other species in a fairly common manner. This includes humanity, who have met various members of the kin
Right.
multiple times, but constantly considered them to be all a different species. Famously, the Imperium noted that the kin they referred to as the Squats were their own species and were wiped out by the Tyranids.
Right.
Little did they know, they were still around. The kin are acutely aware of two things.
Okay.
The first is that the humans of the Imperium are deeply terrified of technology. So the sheer existence of the Voton is a secret as well as the truth. This extends also to the Iron Kin, sentient robots that are treated in the same esteem of flesh and blood kin.
Okay.
Because kin is kin. The second thing they are aware of is where they're from. They are fairly confident that they are from Terra, and they know that if this secret was to be known by the Imperium, that the Imperium might want to take ownership of them and everything they've built. So the more alien they are, the better. Now, this sounds fine and
Interesting.
good, right? What could possibly be wrong with these guys besides the hyper late stage space capitalism?
Hyper
we have to go
late-stage
back to
space
their creation.
capitalism.
The kin are an entirely clone-based race
Yeah.
made from the computers that are exceptionally difficult to recreate. These machines, the Voton, are becoming more and more unpredictable and derelict. If anything were to happen to these machines, it would be a twofold ending of the kin. New kin cannot be reproduced, reducing their numbers, and the existing kin would have no further purpose because the end that awaits them would be non-existent. The horror of the kin civilization is that the entire purpose of their lives is to do the best they can at their duty and upload all they know to the Voton, their ancestor cores, join their ancestors. But doing so is actually the thing
That's
that is
destroying
killing
them.
these supercomputers in the first place. The ancestors were dead, but through the first truths, their legacy continued. And though their eyes had shut long ago, indeed the ancestors were watching, not with a gaze from eons gone, but with the eyes of every living kin. Each generation was the embodiment of the ancestors cast anew by the Voton. The galaxy changed. Stars died, planets were destroyed, and civilizations
Okay.
fell. But as long as the Voton endured, the ancestors still lived.
Well
I do
then.
want to end this last bit with an enjoyable quote from one Kim. As you may have assumed, the Leagues of Voton are space dwarves with a corporate sci-fi motif.
Right.
But they are still very much dwarves. They're squat, they're strong as hell, and they hold serious grudges. This time it's just more about your contracts than anything else.
Right.
And so because of this, they might treat most things about how you would expect a capitalistic dwarf would treat
Okay.
things. You misunderstand, human. I am not here to debate. I am not here to compromise. What you see as yours, I am taking for my kindred. You want to bargain? Torek, unholster our means of negotiation. As the
Oh.
Great Crusade continued, humanity would find their missing Primarchs, reestablish the locations of all their various worlds, and finally reclaim what the Emperor was always hoping for. But eventually, all the Emperor sought to build would be his undoing. His original attempt to have all of the Primarchs lead his great armies and usher humanity into the better ages would end up crumbling down. And we will learn about how the Imperium backslides and the horror of the modern day of 40K in part 2.
Part
I
2.
will see you very soon. Thank you so much for watching.
Oh my gosh. That video genuinely went so much faster than I thought it would. Genuinely did not feel like I just spent 2 hours learning about Warhammer factions, which is insane. If it weren't for the fact that I, ironically enough, still have capitalism tomorrow, I would queue up the second one right now without question. Like, I'm genuinely shocked. But I think the most interesting things that I noticed while watching the video is that, one, it is actually really, I did not realize how much influence Warhammer had on so much, truly. Like, it is actually crazy to realize just how much stuff can be traced back to, like, stuff that was established in Warhammer. And I say that in the sense of, like, theoretically on the timeline, Warhammer chronologically came before a lot of stuff. The other thing I've noticed is that a lot of aspects of the factions if you like, obviously they all have surface level flaws and it's a grimdark setting, right? But if you kind of look at what each faction is meant to represent or explore, there's some pretty intense critiques there if you look into it. And that's kind of like, I feel like that's the most compelling part of a lot of the writing so far, is how like it explores like different interpretations of like various themes, but also very much like points out egregious flaws and issues and criticisms of it. Like the Imperium and like the Imperial Guard is such a critique of like rampant military recruitment and horde tactics and whatnot. It's yeah. Yeah, and like the whole thing with the Voton, John's hitting close to home comment was really funny because it really is like a lot of what, you know, we're seeing with a lot of AI tools is that because so many people are taking AI output and feeding it back into AI, it's creating that degradation. And we're seeing that happen in real time with various tools. So definitely a lot of interesting themes. I do find it fascinating how they chose to combine religious theming with military theming, because those are two ideologies where you do have people who can be extremely dedicated to those things, and then you combine them and create something super zealous. And it's just kind of like, not only is it hyper American militarism and religious fervor, also Rome, also World War II, also football, also high school varsity jocks. Like the Adeptus Mechanicus are Catholic, and in all of that, the Adeptus Mechanicus are Catholic. And it's just kind of like, damn, and we got eugenics as a treat on top of all of that. Don't take that soundbite out of context. Very fascinated. I'm definitely gonna watch part 2. We'll definitely have to watch part 2. I don't know if I'll be able to jump into any Warhammer novels anytime soon. I know Bark sent me the first one, but I'm kind of in the middle of reading Fate Strange Fake right now. I should put on some music. I should at least have some music on for this. I'm in the middle of reading Fate Strange Fake. So after that, I need to go back to finishing the first volume of Dream of the Red Chamber, which is a Chinese classic. So it's a little challenging to read because I have trouble with the names. And then after that, I've been meaning to get back to reading another Dumas novel. And then I want to read a Dumas novel because I read Count of Monte Cristo and I really loved it, and I want to read The Three Musketeers next, and then maybe I'll go read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and then who knows where I'll be after. My point is I have a really crazy reading queue I need to get through, and I've been so bad about keeping up with my reading. I want to try to read a couple times a week, and I'm being very bad about that. Anyways, I was genuinely worried I was going to feel lost and overwhelmed, but that genuinely ended up being such an interesting overview. Oh my god, and you're off to play Space Marine 2. That's so funny. All right, let me get us queued up then. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I was enjoying watching that a lot. I'm looking forward to part 2 and learning more and figuring out if you guys guess who my favorite faction ends up being. I think that would be funny. What is... Oh, right. You guys can see that. Wait, what are they streaming? What are you streaming, Ichino? What is this game you're streaming? But yeah, unfortunately, I do need to wrap up. So one thing I did point out that is unfortunate is that I realized that after this week, next week is Christmas, and then into the new year. So my usual stream days basically fall on Christmas Eve Boxing Day, and New Year's Eve. So I'm not going to pen in any streams for the rest of the year, basically. There may be an occasional gorilla stream, depending on how I feel about watching part 2, or if I can't finish, happy holidays, by the way, or if I can't finish Maxter in time, there may be additional streams based on that. But I'm basically hoping to, spend time with family, try to take some pictures of what I finished this year, do my New Year's cleaning, and, just kind of get started on the stuff for next year. Because I have some stuff that, I've been meaning to start it all year, and I've just been slow about it. Because I'm just like, I just don't work fast, unfortunately. But I'm hoping that next year I can get some stuff kicked off and going and get into a rhythm with that until the ADHD kicks in and I get thrown off my groove, and then I have to get back into the groove. It's still jarring to me how quickly it feels like this year went by. I didn't know what to categorize this stream as, and just chatting felt like a safe catch-all category because we were essentially chatting about Warhammer lore. I didn't want to put it in any of the Warhammer categories because I didn't want to give the wrong impression to anyone browsing those categories. It says just catting? What? So we've been in the wrong category this entire stream. I did not realize they have a just catting category on Twitch. Okay, okay. So that's ending the year on a high note. We are ending the year on a high note, just catting. I don't know how to pull this. I don't know how to come back from that. So I'm just going to move on and pretend like this has all been part of the plan to drive engagement, and it was a galaxy brain move. Oh, that's so incredible of me. Ah, ha ha ha. You guys fell for my engagement bait of wondering why I'm in a category I didn't know existed until 5 minutes ago. 나는 천재 아닙니다. The Star Bear's a galaxy brain, that's right. The hamster wheel is spinning at light speed. Oh my god. Wow, that really does just say just catting. Oh my god. Wow. I was thinking like, oh, I'll do just chatting because that feels like a safe catch-all category that, you know, we're chatting about Warhammer lore. I don't want to like dive into a Warhammer channel and like the actual enthusiasts like come for my ass for not being categorized correctly. And oh man, wow, I'm pulling out the vocal fry. Wow, did you know I can do this? I don't know how I do it. I just know that's a thing I can do. I have no idea. Yeah, there must have been some very confused cat fans in the category, and I am so sorry and so apologetic to anyone who came here looking for cats and got STEM majors on Mars. And hyper-capitalist space dwarves. That's the crazy thing, is I've been eating a lot of honey lately, but I can still do it. I don't know why it's a thing I can do. Anyways, first step into a larger galaxy. Yeah, for sure. Like, I've kind of peeked at Warhammer lore before, but like very, very surface level. And by surface level, I mean, look, like, I've like seen all the factions, but it was more of a like, oh, I know there's different factions, what do they look like? And then just like browsing through them and not really learning anything about them. Like, it was just kind of thing like, oh, what do all these factions look like? Oh, wow, that's a lot of factions. Oh, okay, interesting. And then off I went. All right, so let's see what all is going on tonight. Yeah, everyone say thank you, Barks. Everyone say thank you, Mountain Sakura. They have been asking me to watch this video for, I think, over a year. I think it's been at least a year and a half of Barks asking me to watch this video on stream. Again, I have clicked the wrong thing. Pull out the tab, please. I want to check to make sure this is a stream I can send you guys. Okay, they are knee deep in spoilers. Okay. Low key for the orcs. Warg. We got there in the end. We did. We did. Wait, someone's playing Pseudo Regalia? Hang on. Let me go check the stream first before I send you guys there. Pseudo Regalia is a quirky little game. It's an interesting watch. Internet, I need you to cooperate, please. Yeah, so Pseudo Regalia is an interesting platformer. So this could be interesting. Let me see. Yeah, that looks fun. All right, yeah. We'll head over there. So how do I do this? Start not on. Oh. How do I? I don't remember how to do this, and it's not giving me the option to. Oh no. I don't remember how to. Did there used to be a button for this? I swear there used to be. Well then. Search criteria. No. Oi. No, this isn't what I want. Mix it up, you're not helping right now. No, we're not going to that person. Ah, okay, interesting. Huh. Well, I'll just send us over to Hostkun's channel then, because I am Simplify, Loyalist, or Traitor Heretic. I'll have to think about that. But let me get you guys sent over to the host channel. And I'll see you guys Friday, and hopefully we will be finishing up Maxter, and I'm very excited for that, because then I can pose it and take pictures. So I'll see you guys then, and thank you. I hope you guys had fun, and have a good evening.